Good evening. I'd like to call to order the December 8th, 2010 Planning Commission meeting. This time I'd like to turn the program over to Ms. Lindsay Manda for swearing in of our new members, please.
I, Dan Sadler, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States
that I'll support the Constitution and laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of this state,
and the Constitution and laws of this state,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge
and perform all the duties
incumbent on me as
planning and zoning commissioner,
Planning and Zoning Commissioner,
according to the best of my ability and understanding, so help me God.
according to the best of my ability and understanding, so help me God.
Welcome, gentlemen, and we appreciate your time and service to this commission, and we also want to thank the Commissioner Barre and Commissioner Slyman that served prior to you all. They did an excellent job. At this time, let the record show all members are present except for Commissioner Steve Barrow. Item number 4, acceptance of the minutes from the November 16th, 2010 Planning Commission meeting.
Move. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Dumas, seconded by Commissioner Nance. Any opposition? Motion carries. Item number 5, public comment period. Anyone in the audience wishing to comment on any item not on the agenda, please come forward and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. No one wishing to comment. Public comment period is closed. Item number 6A, public hearing for the George Burton Jr. estate property and Brennan Butts property, tracks A1, A2, and A3. Mr. Quintma.
Good evening. Clint Quintma, representing W.J. Quintma Surveyors. Asking for Planning Commission approval on the George Burton Jr. estate property family partition.
Any questions, comments by commissioners? All right, no questions, comments at this time. Open up the floor for public hearing. Anyone in the audience wishing to comment, please come forward. No one wishing to comment. Public hearing is closed.
Yes.
Oh, you do? I'm sorry, I didn't see you. It's still open.
This is going to be buttoned up right.
Can you state your name, please?
Victor Ledger. I live on Burton Road. The property is going to come right to my property line on the back. What is this? Is it going to be a subdivision, or is it going to be I had heard previously that it was going to be public housing.
No, it's just a family partition.
Just family. How many lots are going to be in there?
3.
Got this large lot here, this one here, this one here.
All right, are y'all going to have any fence between the lots on Burton Road, or public fence?
You want to do public fences or private? I don't do that. I don't know anything about fences.
Clint, can you comment, respond to it so we can hear you?
Yeah, I don't know anything about public fences or private fences. That's not something we do.
Okay.
We had heard that they was going to try to make a road between that property and Burton Road. Is that the case?
Again, it's hearsay for me.
Where would we find that out?
Our means of access is strictly through
Yeah,
here
it's just a
for
driveway.
these lots. And whatever else takes place after that or whatever circumstance, this is our means of access that has to be dedicated. And it stops right here at this end lot. Has T-turn around here. And that's, as far as I understand, it's the only access that I know of.
Where's Burton Road?
Pardon?
Where's Burton Road?
Just to the north.
Just to the north?
Yeah, just to the north. You can see it on the vicinity.
All right, let me ask you a question. I guess lot A3 sort of has that flag going to the north, separated by a canal.
I don't, you want to finish talking to him before you start with me? Let
Go
him
ahead.
finish his public.
That was what I was asking, that there is a canal between the two lots on Burton Road, the subdivision on Burton Road, and the one they're proposing right now. There's a drainage canal, and there's one at the end there that goes back into the another subdivision in the back for drainage.
Right here, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
And there's drainage servitudes that have been placed on that ditch for the parish maintenance.
so there's not going to be any. This is going to be only. It's going to basically a dead end road, which you're going to be coming into the lots with.
That's what's being proposed and that's being dedicated as the proper servitude of passage.
And it's just 4 lots. What, 1 acre, 3 1 acre lots?
No, they're large lots, 6, 5, and 4.
In order for you to get this property access to Burton Road, they got lots all along the side of that property on the north side, am I right?
That's correct.
That's correct.
So in other words, there would be no way for a road on this particular family partition to get to Burton Road.
Again, I'm not familiar with,
No, there shouldn't be, unless somebody sells some property, sells part of their property to get into Burton Road.
Is that a subdivision on the north side of that property?
yes.
Yes.
So in other words, I don't see any way possible of tying this particular family partition to Burton Road, going through that subdivision.
I don't know why you would, or if it's possible. I mean, they would
I don't
have
think it's
access, I don't know.
Unless somebody would sell
Yeah.
a lot in that subdivision.
That's what I was talking about.
connect the two.
Well, that was just, comments that had been made up and down the street when we found out that this was gonna come, and we just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Yeah. The way it's showing, there's no
There's no way,
connection.
really.
There's no access from that particular family
That's
partition to
correct.
Burton Road.
That's correct. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishing to comment? Okay, public comment period, public hearing is closed. Any further questions, comments by commissioners?
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Dumas for approval.
I'll offer a substitute
Second.
motion to approve with a variance on the T turnaround, since there's extra acreage on that back lot. That road somebody could come along, want to further divide that, and you're going to have to create another lot. So I'm going to offer that as a substitute motion.
I second that.
All right, hang on. So, we have a substitute motion by Commissioner Marchand, seconded by Commissioner Kluwat and I'm trying to understand what you just explained it to me again, Michael.
I'm going to grant them a variance on the T turnaround at the, I say on lot A3,
To not put it in?
to not put it in.
Turn around.
And the reasons.
Well, look, you got 6 acres. You can still go all the way to the back of that property. It can be further subdivided. You're gonna make them build a T turnaround here, and then require them to go later on and build another T turnaround?
Well, no, but the
No.
fact of the matter is that T is all within lot A3. So when he comes in to subdivide it, he'd have to deal with it.
My motion is going to, that's my motion, Mr. Dumas, to
All right,
grant a variance on the T turnaround.
okay. I understand. All right, I have a substitute motion by Commissioner Marchand, seconded by Commissioner Kluwat to grant a variance to not allow the T turnaround in Lot A3. Any opposition?
Yes. I oppose. It's categorically dangerous to build a road without a turnaround.
Any other opposition? All right, motion carries. At item number 6B, Dalton Carpenter Properties and Donna Hartner Properties, lots Y1A, Y1B, and Y1C.
Getting just asking for approval.
Clint, I have a question. The residence on lot Y1C, it has a driveway entering or coming through. That, how does it access, being you're going to use a private road of servitude for, from Highway 933? See what I'm saying up at the top corner? The top?
Yes. There's an existing servitude there today, and that's why we're running the Deshay Lane all the way from 933 to Galvez Gardens Road. It already exists today to access that lot, and so it's just being widened. It's a 20-foot now, and being widened to a 40.
Thank you.
Who's the property coming from to widen it?
It's from Mr. Carpenter
Okay.
and his daughter.
So the applicant owns the Lot F, labels Dalton Carpenter.
Actually, it's been transferred recently. The tax map was incorrect. It's Deshay, his daughter, and the pre-dial servitude has been drawn up that way. So that's just a, we're going to change that on the map for the final signature because the pre-dial servitude has been drawn up for Deshay. He has transferred that to his daughter.
But again, I'm trying to make sure that the applicant is in fact the landowner, and I'm still not clear.
Yeah, I'm not either.
The applicant who owns was the land, has transferred it to Deshay, his daughter, who is now giving the servitude to her father for access to these 3 lots.
But is the current owner the applicant of this family partition?
Yes,
Okay. By that, I'm talking about Lot F for Dalton Carpenter.
that is Deshay. That is Deshay, his daughter. Mr. Carpenter, if you want to ask him any questions, he can explain.
Well, I like to see the paperwork match as far as names go. When things are in flux like this, I'm not confident I understand who the owner is.
We want to,
You're telling me
Bring
in
up
one
the-
thing that Dalton L. Carpenter has transferred ownership to somebody else.
if you want to bring up this, I can show you the pre-dial servitude agreement here. Well, actually, it's no.
I think I finally see it.
The daughter now
This lot
owns
over here is-
Lot F. The tax map showed Mr. Carpenter here as the one that still owned it, and that's why it's on the plat. But it will be changed to Deshay, his daughter. That's why it's named Deshay Lane. This goes across her property. The transfer was recent where the tax map does not show it, and that's why.
When was that done?
How long ago was that transferred?
A year or so ago, she did get her tax notice on it this year.
This year? Okay,
It was turned over,
okay.
just wasn't recorded on the tax map.
Yeah,
Okay.
My daughter did the same thing.
Doesn't show it on the
Now
map.
she owns the 40 or the 20?
She owns Lot F,
Oh, the whole lot, okay.
yes.
So the Shea Lane is going to be coming out of Lot F, okay.
Wouldn't that require 2 separate actions here? Because this is addressing Lot Y1C, Y1B, and Y1A, and we're also affecting Lot F, which is not mentioned in this.
That's the pre-dial
Yeah,
servitude
and that's what he,
agreement. That's
that's
the
what he
purpose
got in
of
his
that.
hand. That's where you'd see that pre-dial.
Okay.
Of course, we don't have it.
Sure we do. Page 2,
Okay, okay.
or 3, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
just
just
so
got
we're
the wrong
legal, that's
name
all
on
I'm
it. Okay.
concerned with.
The lanes. The lanes. Named after the daughter. That's what the deal is.
It will all have Deshay on it before it's signed.
Okay.
Before the final plat is signed.
All right.
All this changed to the legal on,
Very good.
with the file number.
All right. Any other comments, questions this time? Open up the floor, public hearing. Anyone wishing to comment, please come forward. No one wishing to comment. Public hearing is closed. Any other comments, questions by commissioners?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Nance, seconded by Commissioner Kluwat. Any opposition? Motion carries. Item number 6C, Charles Giardina, Junior Property Lot C1A, C1B, C1C, and C1D.
Asking for planning commission approval.
Any questions, comments by commissioners?
Excuse me.
I have a question about Lot C1B. I don't see a building line in the front setback.
Because it's a corner lot, you can actually reduce the building setback to half. It's 25, you can reduce it to 12.5. And that's why it's labeled 12-foot utility and front setback.
Okay, thank
Because
you.
it's a corner lot.
Clint, you can answer this, or maybe Mr. Compton can answer it. The 60-foot private servitude of passage. For 3 lots, we don't require 60 foot. So what's,
I'll answer. There are some family trees or important trees for the client, so in order to have the driveway go in and not interrupt those trees, they widened it, and that was the purpose of having it widened.
okay. So this was at the request of the owner to do it this
Correct.
way? All right.
Any other questions, comments? All right, open the floor for public hearing. Anyone wishing to comment, please come forward. No one wishing to comment. Public hearing is closed. Any additional comments, questions by commissioners?
I do have one on the health department has a question, and I'm trying to see if it's been, they're saying what drainage servitude is provided on C1B?
What was it again?
Where is the drainage servitude for, or C1B? That's a health department question.
Ditch basically just comes.
No, but it doesn't touch.
I wasn't aware of that question, but we could extend the 12-foot utility around to, I'm assuming, intersect the drainage servitude on a 14-foot top bank of ditch, if that would comply or solve your question.
I think the issue is that it's the ditch that comes across the south. It's at an angle, and it doesn't come in contact with lot C1B.
Would extending the 12-foot utility turnaround help eliminate that question?
What, at lot C1B, and there's a ditch, you see that?
I see.
Is there an existing servitude for that ditch that you know of?
Yes, the existing 15-foot drainage, but it only goes from the top of bank of what was dedicated. So as the ditch leaves the property, so does the drainage
Right.
servitude.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So we really do need some kind of servitude back there for drainage.
It's already there.
No,
No,
but
it's
if,
not.
but if,
Not
but
on
if
the
there's a
property.
servitude of drainage along the back of C1B and across C1C, then it'll at least give it a connection back
Right.
to that ditch. See what I'm saying?
I see that, and I don't think my client would have a problem with putting a drainage servitude in the 20-foot rear setback to connect those two drainage servitudes in order to comply with the health unit request.
Okay.
Well,
If you want to add that to the motion.
Yeah.
I mean,
it'd be fine.
they'll get access, is what you're looking for.
right.
Do we have a motion?
Hmm?
Do we have a motion?
No.
I'll make a motion to approve, subject to adding a drainage servitude along the rear of lot C1B and C1C to connect the two together.
I need a width. 15 foot, adequate?
That's
15.
the required width by Ascension Parish, which is 15 foot, right?
I'm not sure what purpose that drainage servitude would serve. I mean, if it's just for that lot, the parish has no responsibility to maintain the drainage for lot C1B. That drainage currently goes somewhere, and we don't regulate the drainage from individual family partition lots.
I think the health department is wondering where the discharge is going to go.
Well, there is a utility servitude, which is an acceptable location for sewer services to serve that lot. So, if,
So you're satisfied with that?
yes.
I withdraw that condition. Motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Dumas,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Dalton. Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 6D, Renee M. Williams property, lots 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E, and 1F.
Okay. Asking for approval. I'm sure that some of you have seen this before. It's been reconfigured per the planning department's request and instructions. Asking for approval.
Any questions, comments by commissioners?
Yes, through the two developments, let's see, on lots 2A1 and 2A, it's 2, I guess. They show a mobile home on one and a wood frame, I guess it's residence. They seem to be jutting across the building line. Is that so?
Would you like me to answer that?
Please.
It's labeled as a
Yeah.
non-conforming structure. Structures put there prior to building line assessments become non-conforming. They burn down, need to be moved. They cannot be replaced in the same place. But because they're existing, they get grandfathered in and they become non-conforming structures. So if anything happens to them, they have to be moved back in compliance. Unless the planning commission wants, that's my explanation. That'd be fine.
Thank you.
Here we addressing another T turnaround to a piece of property that's can be developed in the back. Again, we fall under this same pattern.
Yeah, I don't like T-turnarounds for that very reason, but they make me put on.
Any other questions, comments by commissioners?
Clint, the 12-foot utility servitude and the private servitude of access.
Yes.
That's, explain that to me.
Okay, the 12-foot utility and the private servitude?
That's within the 40-foot private servitude of access.
It crosses it.
50-foot.
Yeah, the way it's labeled, if you look at it, for example, on lot 2A2, it shows it going in a north-south direction, but as it hits a line, it goes across to access those lots for utilities to be buried underneath, so you don't run utilities on both sides of the road, that you have them concentrated on either an east or west side. So they only cross at the individual points they need to access the lots across the road.
All right.
All right. No other questions. Open up the floor, public hearing. Anyone wishing to comment, please come forward. Make sure you sign in, if you don't mind, please. Go ahead.
My name is Cord Roberts, and my mom wishes to give me the back part of this piece of property, but really it'll benefit my brother and my sister the most because they live a block away, they have small children, and they're paying rents on smaller lots when they could have their own. So this would benefit them a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Name is Eric Roberts. I'm designated for Lot 1E.
All right, thank you.
I'm Corey Roberts, and I'm going to be on 1B.
All right, thank you.
And I'm Robin Trahan. I live off of Tanis. This would be behind my property. I want to know what they're going to do on the drainage for this property. Would be my biggest concern. And that this is not going to be all rental property. On how many trailers can you put on one lot that they zoning out to each one? That was the question before that we asked.
Okay.
All right, that's it.
And
Thanks.
thank you. Anyone else wishing to comment? All right, public hearing is closed.
Okay.
Clint, you want to address them, please?
As far as the rent homes, no, it's a legitimate family partition. You saw the people who came up and was showing you who's receiving these lots. It is not intended, it's intended for them to get these lots. And the rental situation was there, existing prior to my client purchasing the property. They eventually want to do it. They have to comply with all parish regulations that deal with multiple structures on individual lots. They will, of course, comply with those regulations. And so, you know, there won't be a trailer park or anything else, or that's not my client's intentions, nor did I ever sense that it ever was. And as far as drainage, I'm going to turn that over to parish drainage. I don't know what needs to be done.
Okay. Ben?
The drainage regulations do not pertain to individual single-family partition lots, so there are no specific drainage requirements. The Louisiana law requires that you can't alter the drainage because of there's natural drainage servitudes that are established. If someone dumps more water onto your property, that becomes a civil issue, but that's not controlled under the parish regulations.
Do you know which way the water drains right now? Is it going toward Stringer Bridge? Do you know? Clint, you know?
Other than, you know, the road ditches in the front. I've surveyed the properties around it. I've never noticed any flow of water that I know of, that I've witnessed. So, I mean, you know, it's heavily wooded in the back, so I couldn't tell you there's nothing on a scale that I would know where it drains or what water that pours on it or rains on it does drain.
What's the frontage of Lot 2A2? Where is it?
What was the question?
Where's the frontage of Lot 2A2?
You want me to answer, or are you looking at him? I'll
Why don't
answer.
you give me your answer?
The answer is along Rec Road. It doesn't have the proper public road access along 935. It's designed that way for the wooden frame residents on that lot. And that was the purpose of running that little section out to 935.
So they're not going to connect to 935, and they're going to remove the existing connection, or any existing connection.
Well, I would imagine that lot 2A1 with that drive can still access it like they did yesterday. You know. And that driveway serves that mobile home on 2A1.
So, Mr. Compton, what would keep them from applying for a permit and getting a driveway off of 931? 935, excuse me,
For which lot?
for lot 2A2.
Well, the permit that they're going to get for Rec Road is going to be to serve 2A2, 2A3, 2A4, and 2A5. The existing non-conforming structure, the reason the lot lines are configured the way they were was because we told them they couldn't have more than one lot, more than one structure on an individual lot. So we worked a little AutoCAD magic, and the structures are now on separate lots, and because that lot doesn't meet the frontage requirement, the front setback for that lot is measured off of Rec Road. So, like we spoke before, when that existing non-conforming structure is either moved or goes away, they will place that lot in a conforming position, and that access will be off of Rec Road. But we're not really in the business of telling existing non-conforming structures that they got to remove their driveways.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So 2A1, the access for it is off of Rec Road also?
Could be.
It could be. They have the appropriate frontage, though. 107.
I know they do. Is there a driveway there now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments? What is the wish of the commission?
Offer a motion to approve, contingent on the, Ricky, we need a note for 2A1 to ensure that they don't access 935, or are you satisfied the plat covers that?
Well, that lot has significant enough frontage, so
Okay.
there's no reason to limit its access.
Okay, so you're comfortable with it directly accessing or coming off at 935?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, then I'm gonna go ahead and just offer a motion to approve, grant a variance that, on the T turnaround.
I'll offer a
there's-
substitute motion to approve as is. And,
Okay.
council, can we grant a variance that hasn't been advertised?
I'm not sure about the advertisement requirements, but I know it's got to meet the 6 criteria in the subdivision code. And I would also think it would go to public hearing, but at the moment, I'm not sure if that's a requirement.
Okay. It wasn't part of the application. And I think from a public safety perspective, this is a road that's got, 2 turns and what have you. I think it has to have adequate ability for even emergency vehicles to turn around.
Okay, we have a substitute motion to grant approval as is by Commissioner Dumas. Do I have a second?
I'll second that because of unique circumstances of the road.
All right, I have a second by Commissioner Dalton.
Is that the substitute or the original?
That's the substitute.
He didn't state it.
Yeah, well, that's what I asked, and he said he'll second the substitute motion. All right, any opposition?
I object.
Object.
Commissioner Marchand objects.
Object.
Object.
Hang on here. I got to write this down. Marchand and okay, we got Kluwat. And Nance. And Doc, you object to.
And Commissioner Esnard.
Oh, you did, JB? You object to. Okay. Substitute motion fails. Okay. Go back to the original motion by Commissioner Marchand for approval with a variance to the T turnaround.
Second motion.
Okay, Commissioner. I just still learning your name, so I'm just going to call you Doc. Seconded by Doc. Any opposition?
I object on the basis that it's a safety issue and wasn't advertised.
All right.
I'll object as
Objected
well.
by Commissioner Dumas and Commissioner Dalton. Any other opposition?
There's got to be a showing of unnecessary.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you. Item number 7A, public hearing to consider the following servitude revocation. 14037 Highway 431, Carter Williams Lane, Lot 2A1A. To revoke a 12-foot utility servitude and relocate utility servitude along south property line. Anyone here to represent this item? Ricky, do you know who
a matter of opinion. The other one.
Well, since it's on the agenda, we need to.
This is one of those where no one objected, and I think that they just assumed it was going to go through, but
Yeah.
it's up to your discretion as to whether or not you want to hear it or make them wait a month. But no one objected.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners have any questions, comments?
Yeah, I have one question. Are they going to move the 40-foot servitude of passage north by 15 feet?
I haven't been involved in this process, but I wouldn't imagine that that's their intention. I'm pretty sure they're just trying to put the utility servitude within the servitude of access.
They can't do that.
You can do that.
That's permissible, correct?
Those are not mutually exclusive uses, so
Right.
it should be acceptable.
What, say that again, Ben?
Those are not mutually exclusive uses. The utility servitude can be placed in the access servitude without
Okay.
inhibiting the use of that access servitude.
You said you can't. So they gotta move this line 15.
So, Ben, you say they're not mutually exclusive. What's the point in going ahead and dedicating a drainage servitude or a utility servitude if they can use it for anything then?
You can't. You can use that utility servitude for utilities. It guarantees the lots that are accessed by that utility servitude a way to get to their utilities to the right-of-way. The access servitude serves the same purpose for access. So they're put in place to make sure that those lots at any future point can't be cut off from the public services.
And I do understand that, but I mean, I'm looking at a situation right here where we've got an existing 12-foot utility servitude that's not inside a servitude of passage, and they're proposing to go ahead and put it within the servitude of passage, which, to me, it looks like you're just going to make a potentially worse situation.
How so?
Well, for years, we went through some arguments over all-purpose servitudes. You've got to dedicate a servitude, you give it a specific, you dedicate it for a specific use and stick to it, and don't mix and mingle. Now to me, I see us setting a dangerous precedent with this. By going ahead, it's like I say, it's outside the servitude of access. The proposal is to put it within the servitude of access.
Right. If they were
So-
mutually exclusive uses, I would agree with you. If it was a drainage servitude where a ditch would have to be located or something like that, then that would potentially create issues for access. The utility servitudes, we have utilities in the right-of-way all over the parish, electric, power, water, all those utilities are located within the access ways of the parish. This is just extending that to a private servitude.
Well, I guess the other point that I find relevant here is none of the utilities objected, and I would think that if it mattered to them, they would have objected.
I guess the issue that I've got is that this was subdivided as a family partition, and at the time when it was subdivided, everybody understood, everybody was satisfied with the plat that was presented back in 2004. Now we've got somebody wanting to come and change, for whatever reason, somebody wanting to come and change something up, so.
Well, maybe we should just postpone this thing for a month and give the applicant a chance to come and explain it.
Yeah.
That would be wise.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think so.
Still need to have public hearing since it was advertised, so let me open up the floor to public hearing. Anyone wishing to comment, please come forward. No one wishing to comment, public hearing is closed. All right, you want to?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we defer this for 30 days to give the applicant a chance to, or postpone, sorry, I had a 50-50 chance. To postpone this for 30 days to give the applicant a chance to appear to answer these questions.
Second.
Okay, we have Motion by Commissioner Dalton for postponement for 30 days to allow the applicant to respond to questions.
Will the parish notify the applicant in some form, or?
And then seconded by Commissioner Dumas. Any objection? Motion carries. Item number 8, public hearing to consider the following preliminary plat for the following subdivision, Mossy Oak subdivision.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is David Cohn. I'm an attorney. I'm here representing America Homeland LLC, who is here tonight to present for approval Mossy Oak subdivision. Mossy Oak has had a trail of tears. For those commissioners who are newly seated tonight, I guess it's noteworthy that originally this subdivision began back around 2006. It lapsed due to non-development in 2008 on its own. The developer, America Homeland, came back and presented a PUD that was originally presented August 11, 2010 to the Joint Planning and Zoning meeting. It was recommended for approval. September 2, 2010, presented here to accept. It was accepted. September 16th, the ordinance was introduced to the council, and on November 4th of this year, there was a public meeting on the PUD known as Mossy Oak, which was turned down by the council. In other words, your recommendation for a PUD for Mossy Oak was turned down by the council on November the 4th. So the developer scratched his head, listened to what the folks had to say that were commenting at the public hearing, came back and has retooled and presented Mossy Oak as a new subdivision in a typical subdivision setting. This is not a PUD. This is a typical subdivision. So we're asking you this evening to approve the subdivision known as Mossy Oak. Derek Murphy of Quality Engineering has a brief presentation to give you the details of it, and then we'll answer any questions if you have them. You doing it, Jared? Sorry, Jared Barron.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Well, once again, before you tonight to discuss this development located along Babin Road. As you know, this property was last approved in 2007 as a standard residential subdivision. This approval was rescinded earlier this year per the ordinance. On August 11th, we brought before this commission a concept plan for the planned unit development on this same property. This commission sent it to the council with a unanimous recommendation for approval. Thank you for having the vision to understand that the development for you at that time was beneficial for both the parish and the surrounding residents. During this approval process, some of the residents went to the council and demanded they deny the concept plan approval, and the council did. During the public meeting, these residents continually asked for a standard subdivision that meets today's regulations instead of the proposed planned unit development. Well, that's what we have before you today, a standard subdivision. Current zoning of this property is RM, medium intensity residential. The minimum lot size allowed is 70 foot wide with a minimum square footage of 10,500 feet. The development as presented here today includes 139 single-family lots, all meeting or exceeding these minimum regulations. We're asking for no waivers or variances to the existing code. In fact, your staff recommends approval based on that fact. We ask that you approve the subdivision as presented tonight. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any questions, comments by commissioners?
So there is 139, not 136, as this paper here states.
That's correct. I think that was an error in the presentation, and there might have been even another little lingering suggestion in there that there was some commercial lots reserved out of this. There are no commercial lots. In the earlier Mossy Oak subdivision, there had been a small area that had been set aside or reserved for future development if it could have been rezoned commercial. That never came to pass. So that small area is now part of it, and I think in some word processing at the engineer's office from a prior presentation, maybe that lingered, but just to make sure that, you know, this is a pure residential development. There's nothing reserved here for commercial use.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments by commissioners? Okay, we'll go ahead and open up the floor for public hearing. And I got a list here. Janice Hernandez.
Good evening. My husband and I are opposed to the Mossy Oak subdivision as presented. He's passing photos of our subdivision now. I speak before you tonight because I can tell you firsthand what developers can do to destroy property values. Unlike most others who speak on this issue, we are new to Ascension Parish. After much searching in Jefferson Parish, the North Shore, and the Baton Rouge area for the perfect place to build our final home, we thought we had found it when we discovered the Acadiana of Ascension subdivision in Gonzales. We were sure that our investment would be protected because of the covenants that were presented. Houses were to be at least 2,000 square feet, had to be built of stucco and brick, had to have gas lanterns, and so on. The lots first went on sale by Billwood Smith Realty in the spring of 2007. We purchased our lake lot for $70,000 in the summer of 2008. Looking back, we should have had an inkling of what was to come when we went to the act of sale and found out we had purchased the lot not from Billwood Smith, but from Right or Wrong LLC. At that time, lake lots cost extra. Our house was completed in January 2009. 2 months later, and less than 2 years after beginning the sale of lots, we discovered the developer, Billwood Smith, had sold the remaining lots to Vicnair Builders. When new slabs started being poured, we learned that the covenants had been changed, unbeknownst to us, to allow for houses of 1,700 to 1,900 square feet, some with carports instead of garages to be allowed, and vinyl instead of stucco and brick. There are 11 original custom-made homes originally valued between $300,000 and $450,000. We are now surrounded by houses selling for $190,000 to $210,000. Our home values plummeted dramatically in a few short months. One of the original model homes was first offered at $440,000 and just sold last fall for $285,000. Houses now sell for the same price, lakeside or not. My neighbor moved in this summer and built a wooden fence on her lakefront property. When we inquired about this, we were told the covenants had been changed again without our knowledge, and wooden fences were now allowed. Our view of the lake is now blocked. Drive by our subdivision and see how hideous that fence looks. A greedy developer allowed that in order to sell one house. Our covenants only serve to protect developers and won't be in the hands of the homeowners association until 90% of the lots are sold. Who knows what will happen next? Who's to say what will happen once they begin building Mossy Oak? What if they amend their covenants to allow smaller homes or townhouses instead of single dwellings? The same thing that happened to us could happen there. It makes us wonder why we even need another subdivision. There are lots still for sale in our subdivision and many others. Why do we need to add to overcrowded schools and increase traffic congestion?
Okay, it's time. Okay.
Can I just add the final part?
Real 10 seconds.
I don't know. All right. Mossy Oak would be approximately half a mile down Babin Road from our subdivision. We would ask that it be kept the aesthetic of ours. More than one street entrance into Babin Road with turning lanes and no houses facing Babin Road as presented. This will increase traffic on Babin Road and J.D. Broussard.
Okay.
And the thing that made me most furious when I speak tonight was when I saw the preliminary plat. They're getting rid of all the trees, yet kept the name Mossy Oak. I considered it a slap in the face to all residents when I saw the proposed street names. Dead Oak Avenue, No Mo Oak Drive, Firewood Drive, Vanishing Oak Drive. Sorry, my
All right,
throat's very
that's okay.
dry.
All right.
What audacity. We have fought to keep a PUD off this property, so I assume the developer was trying to be humorous. But let me assure you, I find nothing humorous about lowering our property values further for the sake of developers' greed.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to ask everybody refrain from clapping tonight. Everybody, we need decorum. This is not a sports venue. Everybody deserves a respect from their comments, no matter who's making the comment. So please refrain from clapping, because it's just proper decorum. I mean, just respect to one another. All right. Greg Duplantis.
Thank y'all. I'm not sure about this Trail of Tears business, and I'm not sure who's crying. I'd like to set a few things straight to what we've already heard. Certainly the Mossy Oak PUD was denied by the council on November the 4th. And a new plan was submitted 4 days later on November the 9th. I'm not sure. They either had a backup plan ready in the eventual case that the PUD did get denied. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that. It's always good to have a contingency, so I don't fault them for that. But if it wasn't in contingency, then it was done in haste. And by their own admission, there are errors, typos in their documentation. I'm not sure now if they mean 136 lots or 139 lots. They did leave in that section on the physical location. They still refer that there's a commercial part up on the front. That was one of the things we adamantly were opposed to. We like our residential neighborhood. On November the 11th in the Morning Advocate, Mr. Derek Murphy is quoted. According to this, he's president of Quality Engineering. We are now providing them with what they asked for, a traditional neighborhood. No, what they're giving us is the destruction of a traditional neighborhood that we have there right now. And that's what we're against. I'm sorry if codes are met and that this subdivision passes. It's a quality of life that's at stake here. The density is still higher than we would like it to be. In 2006, I believe it was 106 was the number of lots. The original PUD development showed 2 entrances coming off of Babin Road. We liked that. We would like to see it go back to that. It also spared all of the live oak trees. According to what I've been told, they will take out every oak tree, or every tree on this lot. So now we have not only the destruction of our neighborhood, we have the destruction of the environment. By a firm that calls themselves Quality Engineering, there's nothing quality about this subdivision. A correction I'll make is I had been misled and told that this would be an open ditch subdivision. I understand that's not even allowed anymore, so I want to correct that in case others come up here and comment about the open ditches. I think you'd have to be Ray Charles not to look at this new plan and not see angry retaliation with this plan. It's already been commented about the street names. I take personal offense to No Mo Oak Avenue. That's a direct spinoff of my email address, which certainly is not private, and I'm certainly not opposed to a street being named after me, but there's nothing humorous about this. I take this as a personal attack on me in my opposition of their PUD initially and now this, that they would name a street No Mo Oaks. This coming from the same developer that gave us Oak Alley subdivision. That's the quality subdivision we're looking for. So code or no code, this is a bad subdivision, and I would ask that we deny this subdivision and try to get them to present something more conducive to the 2 existing subdivisions, such as Angel Estates and Acadiana of Ascension, and give
Okay.
us something like that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Farrar?
Good evening. I'm Mike Farrar. I reside on J.D. Broussard Road, and I've been living there since April of 1991. I'd like to begin by saying that I do not oppose a subdivision being developed in our community, but not one of this magnitude. The substandard rural roads that we have in our area cannot handle the traffic that this subdivision will produce. The plan submitted by the contractor, developer, shows 127 houses with one access to Babin Road. Babin Road only averages 21.5 feet wide in this immediate area. The nearest intersection is to the west with J.D. Broussard. J.D. Broussard averages 18.5 foot wide. Right now, both of these roads are overrun with non-residential traffic. People are using these roads as cut-throughs. I know it's public roads, but we're getting flooded with traffic already. I feel certain that all these dwellings in this proposed subdivision will have 2 or more vehicles. That's a minimum of 254 vehicles with only one entrance and exit out of that portion of that subdivision. If only 60% of these vehicles, should happen to leave between 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning to go to work or school or wherever, that'll put at least 152 vehicles on these substandard roads at one time. And that will cause such a traffic congestion of such magnitude that no one in this room could imagine. Not to mention that less than a mile to the west on Babin Road, there is a 90-degree turn where the road crosses Bayou Goudin. 2 vehicles cannot pass at the same time on this turn. And this would be the major route for people to take to and from the Dutchtown area from this subdivision. And God forbid if one of those houses would catch fire, or if someone needed medical assistance and there was a road blockage, a wreck, whatever, with only one entrance into that subdivision, the results could be disastrous. Now, would the Planning and Zoning Commission approve a subdivision of this size with only one access off of a street in, say, Seven Oaks or Pelican Point? I don't believe that would happen. And I'm not sure if all the commission members, especially our newer ones, are familiar with this area or the condition of our roads. So I'm challenging each and every one of you as stewards of our parish to ride by this proposed development, look at the condition of our roads and the infrastructure, and look ahead at what will be a traffic nightmare for this area. I thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Tim Terrio?
Good evening, Mr. Commissioner, council members. I was present at the meeting in 2006 when the first subdivision was approved for this area. And as a resident, what was brought before this council, I was in favor of. At that point, we were talking about 106 houses, curb and gutter neighborhood, something that we felt would be great for the neighborhood. We met with one of the developers, and he said that he had done a project, the fountain, and it would be something like that, a little smaller scale, and all the residents were in favor of it. And a year later, we came to the meeting, and we found out that they wanted to turn some of the property on Highway 74 into commercial. And the subdivision was approved contingent that that be left as green space on the back end. The green space that we spoke of has gas, natural gas pipelines running through it. A lot of it is low land and stuff like that. Unless it's hot, unless the weather's good, you're not going back there and your kids are not going to play in the mud holes and that kind of stuff. Also, I'd like to make a comment. Mr. Berger made a statement that it came before one of these meetings and none of the residents opposed. The reason for that is it was not advertised that this subdivision or this PUD proposal was coming before y'all. None of the residents, including adjacent property owners or members on that street, were ever notified because of the existing system. They came before you, not a clue from any of the neighborhood, and they came, there was no opposition, and that was the reason no one was opposed, because no one knew about it. So I'm asking y'all tonight, please consider the original proposal when they were talking about curb and gutter, maybe 106 houses only, and kind of preserve the rural character of the area. And I'd appreciate if y'all take that into consideration. Thank y'all.
All right, thank you. Laura Fleetwood.
Good evening, gentlemen. I live on the corner of 621 and J.D. Broussard, and I'm here to voice my concern. I not only see this as a major problem just in the area where we live, this is a major problem in Ascension Parish. Since the 5 years I've been living on that corner, the traffic has increasingly gotten greater and greater. Even this afternoon, again, as we were coming back from Airline Highway, the lights that were facing Airline were long over the railroad track. When we got over the railroad track, we noticed that the traffic was all the way back to Gulf Neck. That's about a mile. With the increase that even comes in subdivisions that go up 621, when there's new subdivisions that come, that's still increasing traffic. And the reason is that is your only exit in Gonzales to get over into I-10 or going into Baton Rouge. And so with the subdivision of this magnitude, these people, some of them may wind up going shopping or working into the Baton Rouge area, which is only going to increase that traffic flow on 621, not counting the problems that we already have with the traffic that go up and down J.D. Broussard, or their only other choice coming off of Babin will go KC to go to 621 or to go to Airline Highway. The problem is that the magnitude of the subdivision is greater than this whole area can handle. And so my hopes is that you guys take that into consideration and maybe do some kind of study to see if something of that magnitude can handle that volume of traffic. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Fred Savoy.
I've lived in this parish all my life, except for 4 years that I spent in the United States Navy during the Korean War. I lived in this neighborhood for 53 years. I've lived next door to this property for 12 years. If you allow this to happen, this is going to destroy one of the nicest communities in this parish. It's just that simple. Don't let it happen.
All right, thank you. Charlie Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioners. I'd like to see the commission reject this subdivision, actually, based on just our traditions from the Planning and Zoning Commission, that your guiding principles about rural characteristics and infrastructure. The developer in their plat revisions used 2000 census statistics, and there are more current statistics about Ascension Parish growth. April 2000 to July 2009, the census.gov tells us that Ascension Parish has grown 36.8%. Those numbers that reflect that 5-mile radius talk about 22,000 residents. This actually, if you apply those numbers, would be over 30,000 residents in that area. Also, infrastructurally, traffic is a huge issue, like you've heard people speak. I'm sure that Mr. Berger has a traffic impact study. It'd be interesting to see if it actually said no impact, but our Ascension Parish Sheriff Office says something different. The entire parish since 2000 and 2009, we have seen a tremendous increase with auto accidents and total calls, especially in the west side of the parish. For the northwest, there have been auto accidents from 2000 to 2009, an increase of 85%. As far as the total calls from 2000 to 2009 for the northwest part of this parish, it increased by 55%. So I would say that there is an issue, just like they've heard. We've got 2-lane roads with deep ditches. These are high-impact areas. If we just use our census statistics from what we know about Ascension Parish demographics, that we're pretty much an 82% homeowner population, and knowing that there are 2.85 in each household. So if we take those numbers, we are having over 272 cars on the road from this subdivision. That's going to impact this area. I'm concerned, certainly from a healthcare perspective. I'm an orthopedic nurse. This is a big concern. We are putting our residents at risk. I remember when we were talking in the public meetings, when all this about the master plan and the current plan, the concerns that the commission voiced was that when a developer, we said no, they would come, bring their attorney, strong arm, have an appearance, but really what we have to stand by is our guiding principles of rural characteristics and infrastructure. When we look at the rural characteristics, this new plan plans to take out every tree in the subdivision. I don't know what part of rural that is. I think we should have called it Mossy Urbanville, because there's nothing about an oak on there. The names that they chose to use, No Mo Oak, I didn't even know about Mr. Duplessis' email. I took it as really a slang, no mo. We're going to do no more oaks, fallen oak, firewood. This is a concerning to me that this is the level that the developers are willing to throw back at the citizens who are willing to say, hey, we're not opposed to a subdivision, but give us something that's going to help the quality of life for Ascension Parish residents and not put us in danger. So I'd hope that you would consider those pieces. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to comment? Any other individuals want to comment?
I'm Eli Brooks. I live in Dutchtown. I live up on 74, not too far from Babin Road. The impact of the area is with traffic is horrendous in the mornings and in the afternoons. You know, this gentleman said Trail of Tears. First off, Trail of Tears started off with South Carolina and went to Oklahoma. And the only thing that's going to be trailing into his back pocket. That's all this man's worried about, how many homes he can put on this little piece of property. And another thing, too. You have freedom of speech and freedom of expression in this nation. Let's don't forget it.
Thank you. Please refrain. We just want to keep decorum and be polite to everybody. Anyone else wishing to comment?
Good evening, thank you. I'm John LeBlanc. I live right there on 74, directly across from where they're planning to put a driveway for I don't know how many houses. We don't need that. I've been looking at an oak tree across the road all my life. They wanting to cut it down. 3 pecan trees, they're going to cut that down. What have we got left if we can't save a little bit of our parish? And I'm just asking y'all, please, to do what is right tonight and turn this down. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Johnny Marchand. The problem I have with it is our schools. We've outgrown our schools so much. My kids don't even go to school where we live anymore. They go to school across the airline from us. You put all these more houses there, and there goes our school system even worse. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Fontenot, and I live on 621 across from Gulfnet Seafood. The intersection at Bishop Woods, J.D. Broussard, and 621 is an absolute nightmare. I can be coming down 621 from 73 or coming from Airline Highway, and I see these flashing red lights and blue lights, and I know that there's a major accident that just happened at 621 and J.D. Broussard. And my heart sinks because my family is coming down that road from school and work, and it's a nightmare. Check with the sheriff department and see the catastrophes that happen. Ask Mr. Smith, who has his fence torn down 3 or 4 times a year from wrecks that happen at that corner. And you're going to put more traffic coming down from that road. Just today, my husband and I were going down Babin Road to get to Cornerview. And when we got into the curve on Babin Road that was mentioned, my husband said, this has got to be the steepest curve, the most, you can't even explain it. It's so sharp. And the road is narrow. How can you put any more traffic on there? Guys, you really need to go down there. You really need to take a look at it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, public hearing is closed. Questions, comments by commissioners?
I've got one, Mr. Murphy. I pulled out my old Woodgate Estates file, Derek. You remember that one?
Yes, sir.
Kind of curious, why didn't y'all look at that proposal? The commission approved that.
Yes, sir.
That was 106 lots. Of course, there were no lots fronting on 74 at the time.
That's correct.
So, I mean, that could have been incorporated in, but 106 lots, what I'm looking at is 70 and 80-foot frontages. What, was there any discussion as far as looking at that, that proposal? Was that ever considered?
We wanted to go down to the 70-foot lots, because that's what the regulations allowed us to do. So we went to the 70-foot lots.
So the design, the Woodgate Estates proposal, even though the only reason it died off because of the time frame, the
That's
2
correct.
years expired. So y'all never looked at that again, as far as the layout. You didn't use it for reference, in other words.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
we have here some comments from DHH. Would you care to comment in its relation to your sewage? What are you doing with your sewage? It says something about you connecting to Whispering Oaks sewer treatment plant or something. Is that, explain to me a little bit about that. We got a report from them that was given to us.
That was for a different subdivision. That has nothing to do with this subdivision.
All right, I didn't say that again. What?
That's for a different subdivision.
Well, it's got
Stonegate
Mossy
Manor.
Oaks preliminary on it.
I know you're talking about that.
That is not this subdivision.
I mean, I'm just going on the material that was given to me.
There was a leftover comment in the original submittal that was changed with staff comments for another subdivision.
So in other words, there's no connecting between the two.
No.
I got a question. Is there a recent traffic study that's been done along Babin Road and 74 in that general area and the requirements for turning lanes, what you may have at Babin Road?
We did a traffic study with the PUD concept plan that was 175 lots, which required no improvements.
As a point of reference, can you explain to me why it said no improvements are required? Can you explain that comment? I mean, for the lay people, that's kind of hard to swallow given the conditions of the roads, but can you explain to you how your traffic engineers make that determination?
Well, I'm not a traffic engineer. We had somebody to do that. We did provide a study for Ben Laurie's review and the chief engineer at the time, Jackie Bowman. And basically, because of the trips, the turning trips, from my understanding and so forth, a turn lane wasn't warranted for this site.
So it's a standard procedure that's generally acceptable by the state and by the parishes of how they calculate those numbers.
That's correct.
You have any issue with connecting, and I'm going to skip some of these names because I got to be honest with you, I'm gonna step on a freedom of speech issue here, but the name's got to change. This is really ridiculous.
Unless they're going to bulldoze all the trees.
I don't care, I mean, I don't have a law that prohibits them from doing that. There is no law that prohibits them from doing that. But, I mean, it is a little offensive. You have any problem with connecting Fallen Drive with Ash Drive? I mean, I don't see where you would lose any lots. You could, you could connect those two. You'd have access to 74. The people would have a back way to get to and from the subdivision. It would make for better circulation.
At the time, even back in Woodgate Estates' time, back in 2006, we were preserving that drainage way through there, and that's why the connection wasn't made even back then, was to try to preserve, because that is a very large floodway coming through there, which we do have to mitigate during construction plans, but it was to keep that as open as possible through there. That's why the connection wasn't made.
Understood, but I mean, I think, given the circumstances today, you could rearrange some of the areas of the floodplain that you're affecting already with lots 130 through 136 and 121 through 127 to effectively end up with the same amount of square area that you're impacting and provide for better circulation. I think you ought to look at that.
And what I'm looking, I mean, Fallen Oak Drive and Ash Oak do seem to line up.
They line
you
up.
look at, and so without asking the question, it would appear to me that y'all did consider that at some point.
No, sir.
So it's just an accident that they line up?
Well, when you're looking at the depth of the lots between lots 122 and 119 and 139 and 137, those are the same type depth lots, roughly, and so that's how they get lined up.
It could be, 138, 137 to 139 are 160 feet deep, and these are 150 feet deep.
Right,
So
so-
conceivably, it could be 9 feet off, but it's a doable alignment, and I think it makes a lot of sense to do that and afford these folks that will live in the subdivision like this a little bit better circulation.
I've got a question for staff. Mr. Compton, how do you feel about that many lots having one entrance? That's a lot of lots out of one place.
The code essentially says that the developer should have more than one access. And so they provided a separate access heading out to a undeveloped piece of property. I'm not a transportation engineer either, and I would argue that adding a second entrance onto Babin Road doesn't change the traffic pattern on Babin Road. I, as a designer, would always try to have multiple ways in and out because, as someone spoke, God forbid there's an accident at the entrance, then you have these conflicts. But once again, our code basically says should have more than one entrance. They provided an alternate way out for the future.
Well, I agree with you. When putting a second one on Babin Road, it's only going to make Babin Road just bad. I'd rather the connection be to LA 74 to provide some relief.
And
Jim?
The discussion, real quick, Milton, is when we talked about the connection between Fallen and Ash, that there are grading issues. There's an extreme elevation change, and I've made the comment before. There are engineering solutions to every problem. Whether or not it becomes cost prohibitive to make that connection So that was the discussion that we had with him, is we thought that connection should be there as well.
Mr. Murray, I live in a subdivision similar, in the area, I should say, similar to what you're proposing here, with access to a parish road that you're proposing. And no one, and I may be wrong and I stand to be corrected, but no one could tell me that these lots with these amount of cars is not going to affect Babin Road and the surrounding area. I just can't believe that. Because when you're going to add that many lots, that's going to at least average about 2 cars per lot once it's completely developed, that you're not going to impact that road extremely horrible. It's going to be, traffic situation is going to be horrible. Why not connect it to 74, a major road, a state road, instead of a parish road? I know it may reduce some lots and stuff in there, and I know it may be costly more to get to 74, but I think maybe some of the people that are opposing it would intervene the idea, if you did that, what would be the idea of reducing the amount of lots and making the access to 74? I know it's going to cost more, but that's the developer. He chose that piece of property and he bought it, and he wants to develop it. Well, it's not fair for us, or should I say, it's not fair for me to want to dump this kind of traffic in this situation on the existing people that's there. And it's not only going to affect the existing people, the people that you're going to put there is going to affect also. I mean, I can't see it. Maybe I'm wrong. Prove I'm wrong or show me I'm wrong, and I'll be happy to sit down. But I cannot see where 139 homes, once it's completely developed, with only access on Babin Road. I don't think it's going to work. Or it may work, but it's going to be horrible. It's going to be just horrible, in my opinion.
Any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Murphy, in the literature, it says that 30% of the property will be common area. Is that number inflated in any way? When I look at this plat, I see the detention pond, sewer treatment plant, hordes of pipelines, LGS gas ownership, piece of the property, and so forth. How much is really green? It also says that the plat was going to have a table showing the common area acreages. Am I missing that, or in my materials? Where is that table?
The latest submittal.
Okay, Commissioner Kluart is showing me the common area table, but, so the green space is 11.2 acres, is that?
I actually don't have the table on this.
So my question then would be, what is the 11.2 acres usable green space relative to the total acreages of the subdivision proposed?
I'm sorry, say that again?
If you take out the drainage servitude, pipeline servitude, detention pond, et cetera, you have 11, about half of the total of 20 acres available as green space. Is that 30% or is that 15%?
That was the 20 acres that is still usable by the people. They can use the detention pond, they can use the acreage that is inside the servitudes for themselves.
Ricky, how's the code address that issue? Because I think for your benefit, I think the issue is the code. The code allows you to count all of that, correct?
Yeah.
So the code allows you to count all of that doesn't include a lot or a road as open space.
I understand, but I think it's still subject to the debate how useful that would be to the people of the subdivision, that other space.
I don't believe there's a code for minimum open space in a standard subdivision, so
Right.
anything above 0 is better.
I have another question, sir. There's an extremely large amount of area where gas lines, it looks like, is running through. Does the gas company allow you, say like if someone was to live there, to use that as green space and occupy and use that? The liability and everything of that? In other words, has the gas company okayed all of this and said, yes, you can use it, and if something was to happen, who would be liable for that?
Liable, yeah.
The liability of that.
That'd be a legal question.
That all depends on how it gets set up, how the right-of-way was granted. Usually they're couched in terms as you can't interfere, you can't dig, you can't move it, but there's soccer fields all over the state, football fields, recreational areas that have pipelines, servitudes, rights-of-way running through them, and as long as you're not seeking to penetrate the ground, usually there are accommodations for that. But if it, you'd have to look at the title transfer on how that pipeline was granted to know really what you could or couldn't do on it.
Well, isn't that something we kind of need to know?
I mean, I would not want, if I had
What
a
if they
child,
decide to put a
if I had a
fence
child,
around
I
it?
wouldn't want it to be playing on a pipeline.
I think what I'm telling you is that if it's being used for that ground's already been covered. That's certainly not something that would have been ignored, and it's already been part of a title exam somewhere down the road.
Has that been furnished? Is that furnished to us? I don't see anything
No,
about it.
I mean, I don't think there's anything in that, in these documents, nor is there anything on the code that requires it.
There's no lot inside the servitude either.
Yeah, well, there's no lots inside the servitudes or the pipelines. I mean, this property's difficult to design around to begin with.
It's difficult to develop.
Yeah, you can look at that and just see it. You know?
Why is he developing it then?
Well, he's developing it because he's got to do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what he wants to do with it, and he's entitled to do that.
I understand that, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
a follow-up, well, actually not a follow-up question on a different subject. Mr. Murphy, in lieu of the challenging traffic issues that have been brought up this afternoon, why, can you tell me why historically the subdivision was reduced? And again, I'm the new kid on the block, so I'm ignorant beast here, waiting my education. It was reduced from 2 to 1 road entrances. There's this connectivity issue that was mentioned by several of the commissioners, potentially between Fallen Oak and Ash Oak. Yet the numbers of lots historically appears to be going in the opposite direction. Correct me if I'm wrong, I heard 106 originally, now up to 139. What was the thinking behind those two things?
Well, the two entrances were actually not with the 106. The 106 had only a single entrance. We presented 175 lots with the PUD, and that had the second entrance.
Well, a PUD's a whole different can of worms, I believe, but
I understand, but it was with 175 lots at the time, all fronting on Babin Road. This actually has about 129 lots on Babin Road.
and so your best argument for no problems with the traffic on Babin Road, even with this number, 100 and, well, it's really not 139 because 11 lots are over there off of 74, is what?
We have an approved traffic study that says there's no issues.
When was that traffic study done?
When was it done?
Yeah.
This year, before the August 11th meeting. So it was
And
done
who
in
was that
July.
furnished to?
It's furnished to staff.
Mr. Murray, I got a question I'm going to ask you. Let's say you one of these residents and you live right there, right next door to it. Obviously, you're going to tell me you'd approve it, but give me an answer. Would you like that development done right there next to your home or your home site?
It meets all existing codes for the parish.
Any other question? No other questions at this time? What is the wish of the commission?
Staff, you reviewed the thing and you're comfortable with your comment that it meets the standards of the code. The one issue that I have and still have is not taking advantage of LA 74. The property connects to LA 74. And I'm going to make a motion. Well, before I make a motion, I want to ask the applicant if he's at his own free will willing to change the names of the roads.
this point, no, sir, we're not willing to make any changes.
All right. In that case, at the risk of infringing on his freedom of speech, I'm going to make a motion to approve the development subject to the following conditions. One, that the street names be modified.
Mr. Dumas, excuse me, I meant no structural changes. We'll change the names of the streets.
Okay. And then my other condition of approval is that you connect Fallen Drive to Ash Drive and reconfigure those few lots in a manner that continues to meet the development code, affording the development access to all of the lots, access to LA 74.
Mr. Dumas, would you consider adding a turning lane to Babin Road also in your motion?
Problem is that road, sir, and the condition is the width of that right-of-way, I don't think you could build a turning lane on it. I mean, there's just no
It was-
right-of-way to do that in.
Yeah, but I thought they submitted a proposal at one time.
That was in the PUD.
No.
It was in
no.
the original?
Woodgate Estates, if you remember.
They had, that's what I'm saying, so somebody
turn
thought it
lane
was
in
feasible.
and out.
Yes, I'll include that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dumas.
Do I need to restate it?
You might want to. Yes, sir, please do. And I'll
Motion to
say-
approve, subject to the following conditions. Change the names of the streets in the subdivision that don't reference, don't make reference to the destruction of the oak trees. Secondly, that they align Fallen Drive and Ash Drive to provide a secondary access, and a turn lane off of Firewood Drive onto Babin Road.
Would you add not to destroy the trees also in that motion?
No, sir, because I don't think they can develop it and not destroy the trees, to be honest with you. I don't think they could do that. It's physically impossible. Those trees are going to die no matter what. Whether you bulldoze them and take them down or let them suffer for the next 10, 15 years and dry slowly and become really unsightly and a reminder.
We
be
could
very
plant
frank
new
with
ones, though.
Huh?
We could plant new ones.
Well, hopefully the code would one day require street planting that doesn't today.
All right, we have a motion to approve with conditions. Conditions being change the names, align Fallen Drive with Ash Drive, and add a left turn lane from Babin onto Firewood. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Dalton. Any opposition?
I object.
All right.
But I have to object
Okay,
also.
it's Nance, object.
I object.
Marshon, object. Doc, object. Any other opposition? JB? I'm sorry, Commissioner Esnar. That's 4. Okay, motion carries. Did
No,
you,
you
I didn't
got-
clue out, oh, I didn't clue out, you objected?
Yes, if it's not going to add more oak trees in there.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see your objection here. All right, so that's 5. All right, do my quick math here. 5, okay, that's, motion does not carry. All right. Please, please. All right, so we're back to looking for a motion.
Well, I'm going to offer a motion that this be deferred for 30 days, give the developer time to meet with the residents in the area and get with staff also. We've heard a number of issues with the trees, the traffic, all this stuff. Work out these issues and come back to us with a revised proposal.
That's second.
Postpone, you mean?
Yeah, postpone for 30 days by
Tomato,
Commissioner.
tomato.
Yeah, Commissioner Marchand, seconded by Commissioner Nance for postponement for 30 days, and come back with a plan, working with the people in the area. And do we have any opposition? All right, motion carries. Item number 9, public hearing to consider the final plat for the following subdivision, Lake Somerset, second filing.
Ellen Jackson with McLean and Associates, asking for your approval. I believe at this point all punch list items have been addressed, and we're asking for your approval based on posting of the maintenance bond.
Any questions, comments by commissioners?
I have one for staff. It says contingent on all punch list items being addressed. And I would like to have the punch list so I can see what the contingencies are.
All punch list items have been addressed. Those are items that are reviewed by DPW, myself, engineering, and the inspection staff. But I mean, in the future, we can certainly include that in the packet if it's
But they all have been met.
requested.
All the punch list items have been met?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, for my own, being a new guy, personal edification, can you just give me just a rough idea what some of the items might be on that punch list? 25 words or less?
There were some cleanup items. There was some curb cores that we still hadn't received the test results from, which have been received. I don't remember some of the other. There were minor items that are typical for subdivisions at the final stages of development.
And any other questions, comments by commissioners? Open up the floor for public hearing. Anyone in the audience wishing to comment, please come forward. No one wishing to comment. Public hearing is closed. Any other comments, questions by commissioners? What is the wish of the commission?
All of them have been, so there's no more punch list items.
Correct.
Move for approval.
A motion to approve by Commissioner Dumas.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Barrow. Any opposition? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 10, public hearing for the historical overlay, pre-development meeting for historical overlay district track MCG 1 for reception hall at the Bocage Plantation House.
Hi, I'm J.B. Easterly. I'm doing the design work for the reception hall at Bocage Plantation, and we're asking for the Planning Commission's approval on the prelims that have been submitted.
Any questions by commissioners?
Yeah, I have one about this additional 103 parking spaces, I believe, that's going to be provided. Like, that's about 100 yards away from the reception hall.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, sir.
The new parking area, okay, is, if I have measured correctly off of your drawings, it appears that it's going to be like about 100 yards away from the reception hall.
Correct, yes, sir. Now, that's the existing parking lot. The new parking lot is, we're putting 12 new parking spaces for handicap accessibility and just
for close proximity of, it's right behind our new facility.
Yeah, I understand that.
Right. Now, the existing, the larger parking lot is existing.
Right. And it's about 100 yards away from the reception.
Yes, sir, it
hall.
is.
That's an awful long ways to expect somebody to move.
Yes, sir. What we're trying to do is to stay within the historical features of the project, to just try to do as little concrete close to our project as possible, but we are giving access mostly for handicap parking spaces, and we're going to create some courtyards.
Well, while we're talking about maintaining the east elevation, which I assume is the front elevation, is that correct?
I don't know, sir. Let me see.
Right.
Yeah. That really doesn't appear to look anything like the plantation home itself.
The east elevation is the front elevation, yes, sir, of the reception hall.
You have the short windows, the double windows between the columns, I believe.
Correct. Yes, sir. What we've tried to do is somewhat duplicate or replicate the facade of Bocage Plantation for this reception hall. I mean, we've kind of duplicated the mansard and trying to create the columns and the roof line.
Well, from these two photos that I look at right here,
Correct.
that's not a very good match. This to one full window, okay, with the skylights above, plus the shutters, as you see.
While they're looking at, anybody have any additional questions?
You see what I'm talking about?
Is there a problem with making the windows come down lower so that it would
Well, we
replicate?
did that, sir, for the sake of just keeping the glass from being against where when we set up a dining area for the reception area, that you just have no kick plate. You know, that the glass, there's basically a chair rail height is where we have the windows located.
Well, if you look at the picture right here that you have on the brochure,
Yes, sir.
now the glass doesn't come all the way down to the ground, but it is a one-piece opening. And each has the shutter on either side. And you only have one of those between columns rather than the double three-quarter windows as you show in your east elevation, as well as the south elevation.
Correct, yes, sir.
I mean, it doesn't look anything like this.
Well, what we tried to do was take certain pieces and segments of Bocage and duplicate it, but no, sir, if it being used as reception hall, it can't be an exact duplication. We're trying to give a lot of glass, a lot of light. We're going to hopefully have courtyards in the future on the sides and the front where we can, this is basically a reception hall for weddings.
I know.
Okay, sir.
I think Mr. Esnar is saying that it doesn't meet the architectural standards in the ordinance. Fairly liberal, because it's, the architecture shall be consistent with the style or period of the site. Now, that's, leaves a lot of, fair amount of latitude. I think, if I understand Mr. Esnar's comments correctly, you've fallen short.
Okay.
As a follow-up to what Commissioner Marchand just said, Was stucco available back in plantation days? You plan for a stucco facade on this
Yes, sir,
reception
we
hall?
are, stucco. The front of this building, we can use vertical and horizontal lines on the stucco to appear to be like the first floor of Bocage Plantation as it speaks now. It appears to be a block pattern, and it is a stucco finish. It's not a stucco finish, but it appears to be a stucco finish.
Oh, it might be plaster.
We're looking at this kind of small in size.
It is. I'm sorry?
The images that we have are relatively small in size.
Okay.
And I think if you listen to some of the comments that you're getting here about being a little closer in appearance, and this were a little bigger and in color, we could maybe get a better feel for what you're proposing. But I think that in this case, I mean, I appreciate what you said about the chair rail. That makes a lot of sense. On the other hand, I think that the single opening makes sense, although they're going to be wider. And I'm not sure if that's the right answer or not.
May I introduce the owner, Dr. Marion Rundell, and maybe he can give me some latitude in reference to tweaking the design. May I?
Please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was looking at the pictures. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
May I speak?
Yes,
I'm sorry.
absolutely.
Okay. This originally, when JB drew it, had a much taller parapet wall and did not have the appearance that it has now. What I did was I took the facade, I took the parapet and the entablature in Photoshop, took it and put it on top of this and shrunk it down. I made it shorter so it didn't appear to have this tall wall in proportion to what you would see in a commercial building, a commercial establishment. We really have to have a 3-foot chair rail height, which is what we did. And then our plan was to have our ceiling height that's somewhere around 12 feet. Now, if we have 12 feet ceiling height and 3 feet, that only gives us 9 feet left. So if we put windows in, now, and if we put a full-length door every so often, then you can't have a functional event. I think if you look at Homa's house, they've got glass that goes all the way down to the floor in the back. And that building doesn't look like Homa's house plantation itself. And some of the other buildings there don't look like that either. There has to be some latitude for functionality. So what we did was we planned on, we put in the dental molding, we put the step out, some of the things that you're talking about not seeing in this, if you saw a three-dimensional or a perspective view, you might be able to see that a little differently. The doors and other things that are here are appropriate. Instead of having columns that stick out, we built pilasters that emulated, so there are 3 pilasters that are larger and 2 pilasters that are smaller. And this is schematic. Unfortunately, you're not seeing a quality 3-dimensional picture of it. However, what we did was basically create, and now the question came up about stucco. There is on Bocage, and has been on Bocage, limestone plaster. That's what we're talking about. I mean, we're basically no different. So if we take and build a brick wall or brick pony wall, the 3-foot wall, it would then have the same type of finish that Bocage has on the bottom floor. We're looking at a 1-floor structure, not a 2-floor structure. I can't make this a 2-floor structure, and because then it starts to actually compete with Bocage itself. What we've done in addition to this, and what you're not seeing on this, but if you look at another view of the landscaping, I think you'll see that the landscaping is extensive. I mean, much more than what you guys would generally ask for. And this building is not going to be sitting stark naked out in the middle of a plot of land. It's going to be sitting back. It's going to be somewhat hidden. It's going to open onto a parterre. And the glass makes for a nice reception hall. The question was, is it 300 feet? It's not 300 feet. It's about 200 feet. But yet, there'll be ways to turn around, because we've got ways to do that, to drop people off and turn them around. Fire marshal is going to require us to have an entrance to the front. So we tried to conform to what would be relatively historic in the facade of Bocage, but yet still have a functional reception hall in the spirit of your historic district overlay ordinance. That was what we tried to do. It's real difficult and Bocage is not the usual plantation house that we would expect to see. I mean, it is a house with parapet walls. It is a house with where the bottom is a, quote, stucco or limestone finished bottom. That's what it is. And the upper half of it is wood clad. So, to me, what we're trying to do is to maintain harmony between the bottom floor of Bocage and this building, and not the wood clad, et cetera, on the upper. And it would be a lot cheaper to do it another way. This way was functional. This way emulated the front facade of Bocage. And once you put landscaping and other kinds of things, it doesn't look like a building that's sitting out in the middle of a prairie.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sir, Jeff, did you give him the comments of the gentleman that's from out of state? These comments, did you see them?
We have not, or I have not.
No, we have not.
There's some comments from an adjacent property owner that lives in Connecticut that's requesting, would you get with staff? He has some comments that his concern. He has some concerns.
Would we agree to?
No, would you just get with him? He has some comments, just like if somebody was speaking.
Certainly.
Okay.
You're welcome to have this one if you want it.
No, not yet.
You would like me to respond to these now?
No, I just want to make sure you have his comments.
I'm sorry.
He emailed them to staff gave them to us, and I just want to make sure you have them, that you see them, his concerns.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments by commissioners at this time? Okay. Open up the floor for public hearing. Anyone wishing to come forward and comment? All right. No one wishing to comment. Public hearing is closed. Any other questions, comments by commissioners? I guess, point of information, this is a preliminary schematic. We'll see, I think, when he gets a more refined and more detailed drawings, because it's kind of rough. Will we see just the final, and then
It's our understanding that this is it.
This is it. I mean, I know sooner or later we're going to see the final when it's done. That they come back at the end and
For what kind
say
of
that it's done, just like any construction project.
Okay, well, they're not revising a plat.
Right.
And they're not constructing any public improvements. They're just looking for your approval to do what they're depicting in this package.
Okay.
They don't come back for another approval.
Okay.
Well, I have a question then.
All right.
If they're looking for a final approval, which is what you just told me, if I understood you, why is this titled pre-development meeting?
Because that's what the code calls this process.
That's just the way it's referenced. I think conceptually, it's close. I'm really torn on the east elevation of the building. Is it Is it right or is it wrong? I really can't tell because the scale of the drawings is so small. I'd like to see it bigger, and I would like to see that elevation in color with a little bit more dimension on it so that I can really evaluate it properly. And I'd like to see a site plan with a little bit more dimensions on it so I could really understand it a little bit better. So I'm going to make a motion to postpone this matter for 30 days to give the applicant the opportunity to submit at least those two documents a little bit clearer so that we can evaluate them properly.
No, second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Dumas to postpone for 30 days to allow the architect to provide additional details. Seconded by Commissioner Nance. Any opposition? Motion carries. Item number 11, consider to amend, wait, I thought I was, yeah. Okay, yeah. Item number 11, Commission, consider to amend motion of the special meeting of the Planning Commission Master Plan on September 20th, 2010. And Commissioner Dalton, you
Mr. Chairman, the way the motion was originally worded precludes us from using any of the documents, research, development, data, maps, charts, or anything of that sort for any further projects or master plan of any sort or in any way. And I think we erred when we, in our haste, I think we erred in precluding the use of that. That's useful information, and I think we should be able to use it without restriction wherever we should choose to go forth. To not use that would be a waste of public money and a very good resource. So I'm not suggesting that we're trying to revive that master plan. There was too much social engineering in that for my taste. But I do want to be able to use all that information wherever we go forth, should we find it useful. So that's the purpose of my requesting this being put on the agenda, was to bring that up for consideration by this commission.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Last month, the bylaws and Robert's Rules of Order were brought up, and where our bylaws don't apply, Robert's Rules of Order applies.
Agreed.
Actions that cannot be rescinded or amended. The motions to rescind and amend something previously adopted are not in order under the following circumstances, and there are three, which one does apply. When a resignation has been acted upon, or a person has been elected to or expelled from membership or office, and the person was present or has been officially notified of the action. This evening, we swore in 2 new commissioners. They never voted on these items, and the 2 commissioners that did no longer are a part of this group. Therefore, based on what I've read in Robert's Rules of Order, even considering amending is improper for this item and the next.
Well, I'm not an expert on Robert's Rules of Order. I'm going to have to defer to legal counsel's advice for that.
I've researched Robert's Rules of Order, and I believe that it can be considered tonight.
Well, I think there were some other technical issues, you know.
Well-
That meeting, there was no action that was supposed to be advertised or anything like that.
There was no obligation incurred, and certainly you all can consider an amendment to that. But there was a violation of Robert's Rules of Order the night that occurred, unfortunately, and you can consider an amendment. You don't, I mean, you can vote to amend, you can vote to kill the amendment. That's certainly your prerogative.
Well, I'm going to second Commissioner Dalton's motion because.
Okay, well, we have some comments, so.
Okay.
Let's have
Mr. Chairman?
comments. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't understand legal's position if Mr. Marchand is reading directly from Robert's Rules of Order newly revised. Is what he's reading in error, or
No, I'm certain it's not an error, but I know I read the same provision, and I felt that an amendment was proper to consider. I'll take some time to look at that again. Can you give me the site, Mr.
Sure.
Marshall?
If you want, here, I've got it marked. Bottom of 297, top of 298, yellow marker.
And Mr. Chairman, while
Yes.
she's looking at that, if it's still decided that we're going to go on and debate this, before the debate on the main motion has begun, I would like to get rid of this motion without any direct voting on it by using Robert's Rules of Order to postpone indefinitely. That can be found in the 10th edition, page 121 and 24, as well as in Robert's Rules of Order newly revised in brief on page 126, which states that postponing it indefinitely made as a motion. It requires only a majority vote, but until it's adopted, of course, it leaves the main question open to debate.
Mr. Marshall, I believe the provision you are reading refers to a situation where a commissioner has been expelled from the membership. And I don't believe it's applicable. I believe you all can consider the amendment, and, certainly if, you can make your motion to postpone indefinitely.
Didn't he read something about expelled or elected?
Right, but that's specifically, if someone has made the motion to expel a member, or a member has resigned, that cannot be amended or rescinded. That
So
specific
what you would
motion.
have me believe is that I and newly elected Commissioner Esnard can vote on a motion that we did not vote on originally.
Yes.
I find that very hard to believe.
You offered a motion to?
Yes.
Right, did you offer a motion, or were you just?
Yes,
making a
I move that
clarification?
we postpone indefinitely.
Second.
Okay, we have people that do want to speak, so we have to allow them the opportunity to speak. And that's been specifically told to me too by legal. All right, so this time, John Bro, is that how you say that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was present at the September 20th meeting when this was voted on originally, and I was one of a number of speakers, a rather long list of speakers who spoke that night. Not one of us was in favor of any part of the plan. I think the public opinion was very clear that they wanted this plan done away with in its entirety. We're not talking about issues of civil or natural rights. In my opinion, the opinions and the will of the people must be followed. I believe that's your job as public servants, and I think any amendment to this motion is out of order.
Okay, Greg Duplessis, I'm going to get it. I apologize.
Apology accepted is certainly better than no more of anything. I'm trying to stay lighthearted about all this. I'm not even 100% sure what we're trying to achieve here tonight on this item 11. I was also at the September 20th meeting. I was also opposed to the new master plan. I'm still opposed to the new master plan. But it's my understanding that the master plan is a bought and paid for document and is the property of Ascension Parish government. That's part of my money tied up in that thing. And if there's any shred of anything good in that plan, I don't have a problem with sifting through that thing and plucking out what's good and beneficial for this parish. And I don't think we need a further motion in any regard to go through that document and pick and choose what we want and use it, and then throw the rest of it away or lock it away in the archives. But it's bought and paid for, and it's the property of the Ascension Parish government. Treat it as such, and that's all we need to do. Thank you.
Craig Rushing.
Hello, Commission members. I'm glad to be able to speak to you on this subject. The Plan Ascension or the comprehensive urbanizing plan should not be reestablished as a threat to the long-term quality of life excuse me, in Ascension Parish. We had 11 meetings out in the community in each one of the councilman districts. The opinion of the people was overwhelmingly obvious. The people of this parish do not want this master plan at all. 95 to 100% of the attendees at the meetings, which were from 40 to over 150 people, were adamantly opposed, passionately, vocally, clearly opposed to this plan. I also agree that any part of, if there was anything good in this plan, in that plan, that can be brought up as a proposal at any time and set to add to our existing plan. The comprehensive urbanizing plan was successfully fought off by Ascension residents, and in my opinion was the most dangerous document to ever be put before the parish. The comprehensive urbanizing plan was a document whose intent was to establish as a prime directive for future growth the establishing of urban zones in the parish. The plan eliminated our density protections and replaced those with high-density urban allowances. Medium intensity was changed from 3 units per acre to 10 units per acre. The plan pushed for urbanizing inside of the cities, adjacent to cities, and dispersed throughout the parish. The people of the parish do not want high-density urban zones spread out throughout the parish. We certainly do not want our density protections dissolved. You can see with Mossy Oaks how modest our protections are. You know, it's 3 units per acre. It allows quarter-acre lots. Mossy Oaks was fitting in our present plan's requirements, and it was allowing quarter-acre lots, and that's in our existing plan. The proposed plan completely eliminates those protections and would allow high-density urbanization and push for high-density urbanization throughout the parish.
Okay, that's 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay.
Carla Baca? Not Charla, Baca. You're on here.
Thank you for letting me address you tonight. Citizens have come again tonight because we see that y'all are still playing games with us. We are hopeful that with 2 new commissioners, the residents of this parish will be represented and listened to. The proposed master plan proceedings were evidence that the public was left out of this process. Throughout this process, we were rudely treated when we spoke up. Our visions for Ascension Parish is not the vision of the previous commissioners. We are ready to work with the new commission to revise our current master plan. It is time to begin this important work, not just for us, but for our children and our grandchildren. Let's move our parish forward together. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Teresa Robert?
Good evening. Rightfully so, citizens became concerned with the direction our community was going while participating in the proposed master plan process. People of our parish are overwhelmingly opposed to the idea of high density proposed in that plan. The Commission's decisions on September 20th to scrap the proposal and form a subcommittee, including stakeholders and citizens, to amend the current 39-page master plan were welcomed. After 2.5 months, the subcommittee still has not been formed. That is deplorable. This raises grave concerns for the public. At your November 10th meeting, Chairman Krause's excuse was that he was waiting to form this subcommittee until after appointments had been made for the 3 expired positions on the commission. The wheels of government cannot stop because appointments are pending. The work of revising the current master plan is imperative to the future development of our parish. Dragging your feet does not serve the public. Going forward with the work does. The public's recent position on placing new members rather than reappointing was not meant as a personal attack on the 3 commissioners that were up for reappointment. While they had qualifications and experience to serve, all 3 lacked the vision of parish residents and the fortitude to promote the will of the people. They demonstrated time and time again an unwillingness to listen to citizen concerns being voiced. Agenda items 11 and 12 tonight again show residents that some on this commission and in the Martinez administration want to sabotage the process and push the public aside. It is not only our right, but our duty to be involved in the process that will shape our community forever. When citizens are represented well, the end result will be better for the entire community. We stand cautiously optimistic with the addition of 2 commission members, Mr. Esnard and Mr. Satterley. We trust that you, along with the rest of the commission, will stay in tune with the vision and concerns of parish property owners, include citizens in the process, and diligently work to improve the quality of life for Ascension Parish residents. Thank you.
Beth,
Mr.
did you-
Chairman, I'd like to refer to the rules of our home charter, which refers to Section 2.2, Paragraph 5, Sections A, B, and C. Not only has the parish adopted Robert's Rules of Order, which you all refer to, but we also ask not only that people in this chamber not refer to people by name, not criticize people, and not clap or applause. So I would just ask that the citizens who are free to speak, and we're happy to have the comments, refer to those laws and please adhere to them.
Okay, thank you. Catherine Goppelt.
Good evening. On November 26th, the public notice for this meeting was in the paper of record. On the 30th, the agenda for the meeting was published and distributed, and then on the 3rd of December, another agenda was amended, changing the word rescind in these items 11 and 12 to amend. I asked to review the amendments being proposed, which was appropriate for it to be on the agenda. On December 6th, the secretary told me she had no knowledge of any amendment and referred me to Mr. Compton. Yesterday, December 7th, Mr. Compton told me in an email that he had no amendment, and he recommended I contact Mr. Krause. Though the chairman may set the agenda, it is the responsibility of the planning staff to prepare the agenda and all pertinent information related to each agenda item. Louisiana statutes require such information to be available for review by the public no later than 24 hours prior to the meeting. The process here has been subverted because there is a stalling to provide public information. This is not uncommon when public records are requested from parish government. There is no amendment. Is it legal to even consider amending these motions in item 11 and 12 when amendments were not available for review at least 24 hours in advance of this meeting? Section 3, Article 12, Section 3 of the Louisiana Constitution guarantees persons the right to examine public documents. How can we get up here and speak about a document or amendment when we didn't even know what the amendment said? We know from your meeting on November 10th that you wanted to change and rescind your motion, Mr. Dalton. Who added item 12 to the agenda? This was never discussed at a public meeting. Never. Where did this come from? Who made the decision to amend the formation of the subcommittee of this commission to revise the master plan? What is this about? These kind of behaviors and disturbing attitudes were demonstrated throughout the master plan process. It is negligent that no subcommittee has been formed after 2.5 months. Who changed the word rescind in the first published agenda to amend? The public wants to know. Who changed this? We have had enough of your shell game. Because staff did not provide requested information, citizens have been prevented from participating in the process. Let the process move forward and include the public without playing political games. Residents from every corner of Ascension remain united in their opposition to high density and the concepts promoted in the failed proposal. We are committed to work with this commission to update our existing master plan. Do not change anything about the two motions being considered tonight. Thank you.
Charlie Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioners. I too was concerned that there wasn't public notice about the amendment as far as what the amendment was to read. You know, Mr. Dalton, I do know you have concerns. You were our swing vote for the master plan not coming into fruition and using the current master plan. And I know there's a lot of pressure from within the commission coming top down and from the council about the new master plan. And I can appreciate that our taxpayer dollars as citizens of Ascension in our state that have gone to support consulting someone to give us ideas and using the community all throughout the process to establish some things that we wanted to look at. But what we don't want is the map and the language. And what I mean by that is the map is the master plan. That is what controls the density, and what we don't want that. We don't want the increased density, and that's why it has to go. We don't want the language. Just like you said, Mr. Dalton, social engineering is all through it. Don't think we used a lot of or they used a lot of their time and gave us something of value. The people that created this, the consultants, they did work for Colorado as well as Utah. You can go on their website. It's cookie cutter. It's cookie cutter socialism, social engineering language. So don't think that we got a true value for that $300,000 that we spent. However, what I do want to say that there are things that are probably good in that document that we can, like Greg said, hang on to, pull out, and use as citizens and commissioners to look at our current master plan and revise that 39-page to give you again as commissioners the teeth that you need to stand here and say for our principles that guide us and how we develop our infrastructure and the character of our community. It's so important. When I told you those statistics, that's from Ascension Parish. 82% of our residents are homeowners. That's our homeowner rate. Our property is an investment to us, and it's very important that this commission really understands that about what you're serving. The majority also in that the piece about the characteristics of our Ascension Parish is we're a commuter parish. We live here and we work in Baton Rouge or outside areas. There's lots of traffic that we haven't addressed as far as the infrastructure. Our main industry is laying on, you know, with the Mississippi River with our plants, and then or in the school system, and everybody else works outside. So it's very important that we get this piece right. We don't want increased density. We want to keep our 1, 2, 3 pieces. And that's why it's so important, Mr. Dalton, to get rid of that map and language. What we do want to hang on to, like Mr. Duplessis said, those good elements of the things that we can learn from those things and then use them to revise our current master plan. Thank you so much.
Samantha Thibodeau.
Hello, everyone. I'm extremely disappointed in the decision that has been made to amend the vote on September 20th. It is a slap in the face to all who attended that meeting. So how often is something like this going to happen? Each time you don't agree with the vote or you regret a vote, or we're going to go back and try to change it? No. At what cost? You're soiling the reputation, the positive reputation of Ascension Parish by moving to do this. I keep thinking there has to be something that you know that we don't know. Why would you continue to support this abomination that has been created? Why would you openly ignore the will of the people? Is there a big revelation that you're keeping hidden from us that's going to be popped out and revealed, that's going to open everybody's eyes and say, ah, that's it? Anybody? No, I didn't think so. Otherwise, you are doing this just to satisfy your own personal ideology, not because it is in the best interest of Ascension Parish. This reeks of elitist behavior. I guess it is because you are so much more intelligent than we are. You know better. We're just a bunch of dim-witted Cajuns who don't know anything, and we have to be led by the nose by everyone. I'm here to tell you I'm not. I have 3 degrees. I'm working on a 4th. So I'm very well aware. I have 2 master's degrees. I'm very well aware of what's going on. It is kind of hard sometimes to wrap my head around what is going on. It seems very surreal at times that I cannot believe that this is going on in the parish that I grew up in. If you need more evidence of what lies ahead for this parish, you need to read the October 3rd, 2010 issue of the Parade, talking about San Luis Obispo. It says, titled, "You Wish You Were Here, Lessons from Happy Town, USA." In this article, it says, with help from its county's land conservancy, a city manager raises funds to purchase green space that comes up for sale to this town. Since 1994, the city has acquired 3,000 acres of open space. Isn't that something that was in our master plan? That's 180 acres a year that this city has acquired. For what? They can do with it what they will, what they want. Since 1980, this is what I found interesting, government control started in 1980, where they banned drive-through restaurants. That's where it starts. And I can see this master plan headed in that direction. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Nowhere in this article does it talk about the cost to taxpayers. Nowhere does it talk about the freedoms that you have to give up in exchange. This is what is at stake. Please, please, do not amend, rescind the vote.
Matteo Avocado.
Several people, several people have already gone through this list, but this started back in September 20th, special meeting. The commissioners voted to scrap the master plan and create the Commission of Citizens, Stakeholders, and Committee People. You people have the authority and responsibility to do this. You voted for it, and you're 2 months later, you're still sitting on your can. October 4th, parish president injected himself and went to the Attorney General trying to subvert this system to no avail. Prior to the regular meeting on October 13th, numerous sources told us the Planning Commission was trying to get some of the commissioners wanted to resurrect the proposed master plan. The item was not on the October 13th agenda because you do not want to signal the citizens your intentions. Because state law requires a unanimous vote to add it, a new agenda item during the meeting. These commissioners are not able to bring back the master plan. So now we have an agenda that you amended without public notice, without telling us what the amendment is. Sounds like the same old stuff. You just keep making the same mistakes. You voted, appoint the committee, and let's get to work. Why do you want to change? What do you want to change about these motions on September 30th? The public has already spoke. No subcommittee has been formed, nor has any work been done. Mr. Kraus, you talked about the appointments to the commission. They're done, and we still are not talking about forming this commission. We're talking about changing the vote. Or the delay tactics being used by some of the commission, the parish president, and the council to control the process and shut out the citizens. Or the schemes intended to control the process and manipulate the people. I believe so. No changes are justifiable. Let's move the process forward. 2 months delay is quite sufficient. Work together and do the business at hand, amend the current master plan with this committee. You are obligated not to delegate, you're obligated to do it yourself. Nowhere does it say pawn it off to the parish president and let him spend the $250,000, which unfortunately is gone. Okay? You have the responsibility. Do the job you were appointed to do, and that's to get moving on this process. 2 months is quite sufficient. Thank you.
Sherry Slyman?
Good evening, Commissioners. Commissioner Dalton, I appreciate you making this decision. I'm sure it was a very hard decision to make, and it put you up for a lot of public comment, a lot of hostile public comment out here, but I appreciate that. I keep hearing about the people, the parish. They don't want this, they don't want this. If you look around, you realize that the people is less than 1% of the parish population. We're seeing the same people again and again, but in reality, it is less than 1%. I would like to see you able to use the documentation that was created. I think there is a compromise somewhere, whether it is putting the old master plan and the new master plan together. I'm not sure, but I think there's a compromise between the people who want a master plan, the master plan, and the ones who want to keep the old master plan. I would ask that you not waste the $350,000, and that's the figure I think I have. It's $350,000 that will be wasted if you don't use that documentation. The last thing I'd like to say is it made me very uncomfortable that there was a motion and a second before the public hearing was even opened. So I would like to hear what you have to say about that, about the procedure. Did we just waste our time? Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else want to comment? Yes, sir.
I just heard a person come up here and say 1% of the people is against this plan. I tell you what, let's make it a real American deal.
Can you give me your name, please?
Eli Brooks. Let's make it a real American deal. If they think it's just 1%, put it out there for a vote. And I guarantee you it'll go down. Because the people are tired of backdoor politics. And this is exactly what it is, backdoor politics. One person went out and spent $300,000. Says, oh, it's a waste. It was a waste on his part. Money went somewhere. But they're trying to make more money off the people. Yeah, there might be some good things in this plan to be used. Take it out and use it. But this master plan they got before us is not good. None of the people I've spoken to, and it's more than 1%. I can guarantee you they don't like it.
Yes.
My name is Benny Besson. I moved here about 12 years ago to get away from Baton Rouge, and if this continues, I'm going to have to look to get out of here and go somewhere else and vote with my feet. I found out about the master plan, and it had purple dots on my street to make it connect all the way from 44 to 42. And I just don't know how that's going to happen. It is a little bit bewildering and surreal. I don't think surreal does the word justice. One only has to look at Europe to see what's going on, and that it's coming here. It's here. Horizon, HUD, master plan. It's all the same language. So I disagree with the lady who says that 1% or whatever it was, but you know, if this keeps up, this room won't be big enough to hold all the people. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Cheryl Fontenot.
longtime resident of Ascension Parish, in fact, lifelong resident of Ascension Parish. I was pretty upset just now when I heard the last lady that commented. One, it's a friend, one that I was instrumental in appointing to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and very disappointed with. I got involved with this lady because I was a councilman, and I was trying to help her with a business. She may have been only 1% or one resident, but it's the residents that I stood for, not the businesses and not the politics and the backdoor stuff. I stood with her at this podium right here and fought for her. And that's what I expected her to do up there when I appointed her. And some of these other ones that I appointed up there, you know who you are. I expected you to support the people. That's why I ran in the first place, was to support the people. And I interviewed you and expect you to do exactly what, when we interviewed you, and that was to side with the people, because that is who you represent, not me.
Anyone else? Okay. Public comment period is closed. I'd like to take the opportunity to respond. As most of you know, this is probably my last meeting here. I was not, and I don't need any comments while I do this. I ask for your respect. I've given everybody in this room a lot of opportunities to get up here and speak, and a lot have come up and personally attacked me and my position. And I think it's unfair, because then I can't respond to you. But I think this is a time that I want to respond to this. But, you know, the opposition has managed to convince enough of the parish members and the council to reappoint me. And that's the nature of the beast. It's just like an election. You have that prerogative to do that. You know, I'd like to kind of address some of the comments in the opposition, and, you know, try and set the record straight here about the negative publicity they have generated. I've resided in Ascension Parish for 10 years. My wife and I decided to move here from Baton Rouge because of the many wonderful people we met in this parish. We purchased 4 acres of land, built our home on the property. We own no other property or business in Ascension Parish. I'm a civil engineer specializing in transportation and planning. I've never run for public office and never intend to do so. Because of my work experience, I decided to apply for the Planning and Zoning Commission in 2005. I was appointed to fill a 1-year term, and then was reappointed for a 4-year term. The commission elected me to serve as chairman in January 2009, and unlike the parish council members of planning and zoning, we are not paid for our service. It's all volunteer. I volunteer my time and expertise to give back to the parish that I chose to live in. I have no hidden agenda for serving on the commission or supporting a master plan for this parish. The past few months, public statements by some members of this commission, myself, and are listening to this people. And let me remind the people, the opposition, that on June 21st, 2010, at the special planning and zoning meeting, we received many comments from a number of people about moving too fast on the master plan process. The opposition requested that we hold a number of meetings parish-wide. We supported this suggestion. My exact words to the opposition were, we would be happy to hold meetings because we love people to comment. We encourage comments. I still hold true to that. However, the opposition misled us to the purpose of these meetings. The meetings were scheduled so we could explain and discuss the master plan with the residents. The opposition and the followers came to each of the meetings with a specific purpose of criticizing the plan. And not just the plan, but PUDs, past council decisions. Another comment was made that I support high density. This is not true. Ascension Parish has added, and Charlie, you said it yourself earlier, 30,000 people in the last 10 years. That's high density coming in. We've got to control this. How are we going to control this? The master plan was going to try and just help guide us through the process. It wasn't a document that set forth the rules on how to do it. It just was the guidelines, a blueprint. We've said that over and over again, all through this process. People ask me in the recent months if I regret volunteering for this position. My answer to that question is no. I feel that I've been a part of a commission that has accomplished a lot in 5 years, In the past, the work of the Planning and Zoning Commission has been largely unknown to their area residents. This is no longer the case, as evidenced by the number of people that are attending these meetings. I received several calls supporting me for my actions up here and my commitment and my energy to serve Ascension Parish. My concern has always been this parish. It always will be this parish. And I look forward to working with the committee that helps guide us and develop a master plan. Thank you. At that, I'd like, Ricky, if you wouldn't mind, kind of go over some of the master plan history, the ones we've done in this parish, and the status of them, what has, I guess, resulted from the completion of them. Because we keep referring, let's go back to the master plan that we have. And I want Ricky just kind of elaborate for the benefit of the new commissioners and just
Mr. Chairman,
educate them.
before we do that, we
Sure.
have, my amendments is on.
Well, I think
Well,
comments are still.
I'd like to comment on your motion, if you don't mind. First of all, we talk about killing a master plan. There is no master plan. Nobody's ever made a motion to adopt a master plan. It wasn't finished. The process was for us to complete these public meetings that the public requested, come back, accept those comments, and then ask staff to give us an analysis of those comments as it pertain to the draft document, which is all we have. We have a draft document. That's it. This is an interruption of the process. In my opinion, it's wasteful. We sat there at a commission, at a special meeting. We took action that wasn't advertised. And then we pursued this alleged master plan that upon research, it turns out that, one, it was incorporated in the draft document, and number two, it was nothing more than a land use study of the zoning map, and the end result of it was not a master plan. It was an amended zoning map that's been administered the whole time. So, many of the allegations that were made in that public meeting weren't even accurate to start off with. I think to interrupt the process is wasteful. I don't particularly like the master plan as it is, the draft document as it is. I think it's got a lot of work that it needs. There were an awful lot of good comments that were made in the public. There were an awful lot of rhetorical comments that were unnecessary. They were very personal in nature. But they all need to be considered, and that's what the process is all about. It's a waste of the research and the data to not use it and not rely on it. And I don't have any personal ideology here to pursue. I just want to finish the process and end up with a document that the majority of the people and the commission can live with, and that will offer us solutions of how to address issues like we talked today. We have a lot of state roads in this parish that are substandard. We have a lot of parish roads that are substandard. But yet nobody's stepping up to the plate and saying, how are we going to pay for that? Where's the money going to come from? Is there anybody really going to go up and say, well, yeah, raise the tax? Nope. Nobody's going to do that. Is anybody going to they're difficult decisions. And they're not easy decisions. They're difficult ones. And they're not going to be popular either, by any stretch of the imagination. But the process needs to be completed. And for us to just decide that we're going to take however long and however money we did and just toss it aside and say, it was all for naught, it's ridiculous. I think personally, we need to establish a committee. It needs to be a manageable number. Every commissioner should maybe select somebody. My objection to the second motion last time was the fact that we were directing the chairman, whoever that is, to do something without giving him any guidelines. I think the committee is an excellent solution, but I think the chairman needs to be given some guidelines as to what to do.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I don't have an axe to the grind one way or another on this master plan. In fact, I'm still learning a good bit about it. My problem remains with the process, which I think has been in the past and actually in this meeting continues to be flawed. Ms. Galpit spoke moments ago and said, and I might not have the exact words, but that although the chairman may set the agenda, quote unquote, something toward that end, I just want to set the record straight. Again, according to Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised 10th edition, you will read on page 363, lines 8 through 20, or if you prefer the shorter version, RONR in brief on page 16. It states the following: "It is wrong to assume, as many do, that the president, or in our case, of our assembly, a chairman, sets the agenda, quote unquote. It is common for the president or chairman to prepare a proposed agenda." I've been watching this commission for a while, and I've never seen the word proposed on any agenda. But that proposed agenda becomes binding only, and I emphasize the word only, if it's adopted by the full assembly, perhaps after amendments, for example, have been made. In summary, for a proposed agenda to become the official agenda of any meeting, it must be adopted by the assembly at the outset of the meeting. That was not done tonight, nor has it been done in the past. At the time that an agenda is presented then for adoption, it is in order for a member to move to amend the proposed agenda by adding an item which the member desires to add. So it's not just the purview of the chairman. I was at the meeting as a citizen when Mr. Dalton offered his objections to the amendment of Mr. Marchand. Well, actually, there are two amendments we're talking about here. And I'm looking at those minutes that we all just approved, gentlemen. That's all of us, whether we belong here or not. It said that the next month's agenda would, and I'm going to quote, this is the bottom of the page of our minutes of the November 10th meeting, 2010. We were to consider correcting this matter, meaning the vote on the master plan. When I look up the word consider in my Funk and Wagnalls, Webster's, or for the English folks in the audience who like the Oxford Dictionary, the word consider is a non-actionable item. It has been pointed out by several of the citizens, it has been moved from consider to rescind. That was put in the public record, and then it was changed to amend. I got 2 or 3 mailings during the week, and I was wondering, well, how should I consider this thing? Or consider to rescind it or to amend it, because I wasn't really sure what's going on. But I think moving forward, whatever happens here, and I don't mean to criticize, Mr. Chairman, your leadership, I think you've done a lot for this parish, and I personally thank you for that. But we need to make some decisions, as Mr. Dalton has now brought in front of this commission. We're going to act by our bylaws, which are going to supersede Robert's Rules of Order, or we're not. And so I hope in the future that when we have an agenda, that just like the minutes, it's going to be a proposed agenda, and then we're going to vote on it and say this agenda is correct for today or it's not. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for legal,
Yes.
if I could.
Sure.
Back after the September 20th meeting, I contacted you with the question regarding what our specific action on September 20th would do as far as using the basic research, the charts, all the development data that the consultants provided. I asked you, would that action prevent us from using that data in the future in any way or form? And if my notes serve me correctly, you considered that, and your answer was that yes, we had prevented us from using it in any way, shape, fashion, or form.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct in that?
Yes, the motion, the
I
minutes.
would challenge your
Well,
interpretation of mine.
you should have done that then
Wait,
when
it
you
did not
adopted the minutes,
say
because you.
research.
Question on the motion. Let's vote. I'm tired of this. No, this is, no, the motion was to postpone indefinitely, and that's not a debatable motion.
Michael, let her answer the question. You interrupted.
Mr. Chairman, the motion is not debatable according to Robert's Rules of Order. I can quote you that again.
Okay.
You know, my motion's on the table. I would like to see it handled.
Okay, hang on.
Chairman,
Yes.
he made his motion before public comment, so after public comment is closed, then he can feel free to make his motion.
Okay, and I'd still like to hear
No, I've
before.
already made my motion.
Before public
But it was
comment
out of order,
heard and it
I
was
guess is what I'm
inappropriate.
understanding. You can't make a motion before we have the public comment. And everybody, we have to have public comment on every item on the agenda, allow the public to comment.
Would you want me to restate the motion now?
Not right now. I'm asking
public
Lindsay
comment is finished.
to explain what she was trying to explain to Commissioner Dalton.
Commissioner Dalton emailed me with a copy of the minutes from the special meeting on September 20th. And the minutes were very clear that none of the supporting documentation, the maps, et cetera, could be used. So based on the minutes that were subsequently adopted by this commission, I told him that that documentation could not be used.
Okay. Which I think that's what you're trying to correct.
Well, that's the purpose of addressing this whole question and starting this whole brouhaha, because I feel like we need to be able to use that information wherever we go with this. And everybody's, and I've listened to all the comments tonight, and I understand the people's concerns. But at no time have I said I'm trying to resurrect the master plan. I just want to make sure that this commission can use the underlying research and data that we paid for with parish dollars.
I have a question for Commissioner Nance. Was it your intent to throw away every document that was affiliated with? Okay.
absolutely not.
So I think that's
And
what
and it didn't say
Commissioner
that
Dalton.
either.
Okay, but that's what Commissioner Dalton is trying to correct here.
Because that's-
Is not throwing away every piece of information that.
That was not my motion.
So since that was your motion, and you've heard legal interpretation of your
That's her
motion,
interpretation.
It's not my interpretation, it's the written minutes that you all adopted.
she's
You
the
tell
lawyer.
me where
that-
it said research in my motion.
Commissioner
Wait,
Nance.
let's-
I'm
Hold
looking
the
at my
minutes.
motion. It does not say research.
And I understand that, but the minutes that you
looking at what you
adopted,
draw.
I didn't say
You're not looking at what the
research, it's just
minutes
very
have.
broad language that refers to maps and other supporting documentation. It is very, very broad.
Commissioner
And
Nance.
I'm
She's
not
the
s-
lawyer that we pay to be here to represent.
She's not
us.
always right either.
Well,
So-
that was inappropriate.
She tried.
That was inappropriate.
Okay. well,
Mr.
I
Chairman.
didn't quote
this-
you by name.
I mean, I think we're making this too complicated. Do you want to scrap? Do you want to throw away every document that was? We're not talking about
gonna
reinventing the
defer
master
to-
plan. The master plan is dead.
The proposed master plan.
The proposed master plan is dead, right? So we're talking about not throwing away the documents. Is it that complicated to have a motion that could do that? And let's move on and address this. I'm with Commissioner Marchand. Let's vote on something.
Let's vote on something.
Robert's
right.
rules has got more press than I've ever heard in a meeting in my life tonight.
I know, well, I don't know that we officially adopted it.
Well,
That's part of the
it's
problem.
very apparent that we're here with, some of us are here with a predetermined direction, so let's just move forward.
Okay. All right. So now, I will entertain another comment?
No, sir, not at this time. I think, well, I'll say none. I think the people want us to do what's right up here. I think they're looking at us and laughing right now. They're laughing at us because we're
All right, well, let's-
all gentlemen.
let's just
You asked
move
me, and
on.
I have a right to comment, sir, please. You asked for consideration. I'm asking you for consideration. And we keep going what the people don't want, arguing and bickering amongst ourselves. Let's put all this stuff aside. Let's work with the people, and let's work together, everybody, this commission, the public, the governing authority, the parish council, the president and his staff. Let's quit all this bull and work together to put this parish where it needs to be, and quit bickering over little bitty stuff like Mr. Barrow said. Let's motion and move on, get out committees, get everything started and work forward. Let's go.
Okay, so
Now.
are we gonna, so what's the decision? Are we gonna use the documents, or are we gonna postpone it indefinitely?
Mr. Chairman, is it appropriate now for me to make
You may
the
make a
motion?
motion, yes.
Thank you. I object to the consideration of the question as stated at item number 11A on the agenda. And if you want to dispense with both of them at the same time, we can do A and B. Or if you wanted separate motions, we can do it that way. To amend the motion, first one is of the special meeting of the Planning Commission Master Plan on September 20th, where it was moved by Mr. Robert Nance, second by Mr. Michael Marchand, to scrap the proposed master plan in its entirety and its accompanying maps and language. I move to postpone indefinitely.
Second.
Have a motion and second to postpone indefinitely.
Can we get an interpretation
that-
from Robert on what that means exactly for us that haven't read the book tonight?
I mean, so we can never use anything in the in the document, or will you postpone it indefinitely what?
This motion to amend?
In other words, it's never gonna come back up again.
No, it can come back up. It could come back up, Commissioner, but it's inappropriate tonight. I've stated clearly my position that you are allowing me to vote on a motion that I had no part in, same way for Mr. Esnart in the past, which I think is inappropriate, but legal has stated otherwise. So if that's so, then I have to use Robert's rules again in motion to postpone indefinitely.
Postpone considering this item indefinitely. That's what you're saying?
That's correct.
And if indefinitely doesn't mean with no timeline, does that mean it can come back up? How does it come back up?
It would come back up if a commissioner put it back on the agenda and the chairman put a proposed agenda out. And as I said, I hope in the future that proposed agenda will be voted upon at the beginning of every minute, like the meetings, that it is the true agenda for that meeting.
But many of the items don't get put on the agenda. They're applications that get put on the agenda, and they're advertised and they show up on the agenda. And I don't think the chairman has the right to say no, although they're applicant, they can't be on the agenda.
That's the whole point. If you paid attention a little bit earlier, I stated that it's not the right of the chairman to set the agenda. Any member of this assembly can request, as Mr. Dalton did, to the chairman, please add this to the agenda.
Okay, I'm sorry if I misspoke. I'm saying that as a body, we don't have the right to reject somebody who's applied and properly advertised and say, as a group, decide we don't want
No,
them
sir,
on
I
the
think that
agenda
would
and
be
not set the agenda.
inappropriate.
Okay. We have a motion to suspend indefinitely, considering the motion to amend the motion of September 20th, 2010. That
Correct term is postponed.
well, you're on. Okay. All right. Seconded by Commissioner Marchand. I might just do. All in favor? You would. Commissioner Dalton?
I'm not in favor of suspending forever now.
Okay. So you're against?
Excuse me, it's not forever, indefinitely.
But I think we need to answer the question whether we can or cannot use those documents, so I'm against it.
Okay. Commissioner Dalton's against. Commissioner Barrow?
I'm going to support due to the issue of changing the word rescind to amend, and I'd like to have everything set properly in the proper public notice and readdress this at that time. So I would support his motion.
So you're in favor?
Right.
Okay. Dumas, Commissioner Dumas?
I oppose it for lack of a timeline.
All right, Commissioner Nance?
I'm for it.
Commissioner Marchand's for it. And Doc, you're for it. Commissioner Kluwat? For it. And Commissioner Esnard? For it. Okay. Motion passes. Now, on item number 12, I think probably.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I move that the.
Okay, if there's anybody that wants to, let me just go ahead and, they do have an opportunity to comment. Anyone in the audience wishing to comment on item number 12? Okay. Charla?
Yes, not to belabor agenda items 11 and 12, but just to appreciate the situation that you all are in under the spotlight and what's going on and the confusion. I think some of the problem was the verb in there, scrap, was, like get rid of everything. I don't think that was really the messaging. I think it was, we don't want the new master plan, hence the word scrap. And it wasn't about not using documents. So I think there's clarity. I think we all understand that there's things that are in there we want to pull away. I think we get lost in that verbiage on agenda item 11 with the scrap, that it meant like throw it actually in the garbage. The other thing, Mr. Dumas, it's kind of difficult. Some of this reminds me of what's going on in Washington right now, when Nancy Pelosi said, well, let's just sign it, and then we'll read it later, and then we'll figure it out when it's on the other side. The people want to understand what the master plan. We don't want this draft out there that can change at a whim of a political wind. We want the current master plan. We want to use good information that we have. We want to work as citizens, which is what this piece right here, number 12, talks about. The citizens are engaged like never before. We want to make sure that we help you make good decisions. You say, oh, no, the taxpayers wouldn't ever want to pay for a tax. Well, let me just challenge you as commissioners, and then when we deal with councilmen, the citizens would not mind paying taxes if we knew people were good stewards. And when we voted for taxes, we were having infrastructure needs met, such as the roads, the sewage pieces. So taxes are not, people don't oppose that. We want to make sure that people are making good decisions and good stewards of our resources as well. And so, again, some of my concern, Mr. Dumas, is that you want a committee, manageable. Buzzword to me right away with historical factor of Ascension Parish government is manageable means manipulate. And so I would propose that we are engaged as a community to help you help Ascension. We want to participate, and I can appreciate this is Mr. Krause, and thank you for serving and doing due diligence. And I know that our paths have crossed in the past, but I thank you for serving Ascension. This is not easy, and it was volunteer time. So I want to thank you personally. And, you know, again, allow us to be part of the process, and that's what we want.
I'm going to be short. I'd just like to say that if this subcommittee had been formed and we had the stakeholders and we had the citizens that were involved and we could be moving forward for over 2 months now, we could come back and we could see what kind of concerns or questions need to be addressed by this. And I just think we've been wasting a lot of time for months, and it affects our community. And the other thing I'd like to address is just the fact that this $300,000 is a drop in the bucket. I have monitored this parish for over 30 years, 33 years now, and $300,000 is nothing, especially when it's something so dramatically in opposition to what the people of this parish want. I've seen engineers walk over, they've literally, raped cash of millions of dollars in studies that sit on shelves in our parish office. So that shouldn't even be a consideration. And again, we thank y'all and we encourage you to please represent the people. Let's move on this. Let's move together, and let's do something good for Ascension Parish for a change.
Anyone else?
I'll be brief also. I just want to address the contention that nothing in the plan can ever be used again. And, certainly there's ideas in people's heads that have come from the proposed plan, and those ideas can come up in proposals to amend the existing plan. I don't think anybody's saying that your hands are going to be slapped if you say, in that proposed plan there was this good idea and I want to repropose that good idea. I don't think anybody's saying that can't be done. We just want the proposed plan to go away, and we want to start with the existing plan. There are some things that need to be changed in the existing plan. The PUDs need to go. We need to go back to what we had in 1998 to start with. The PUDs need to go away. We need to get away from we were at 8 units per acre in mixed use. Then went to 20. We need to go back to 8. So we need to come together, the commission and the people, and start with the basis of our existing plan and develop from there. And if in the process of augmenting from our existing plan, someone wants to propose an idea that was in the proposed master plan, then I don't think anybody's saying that would be inappropriate. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else?
I just want to let people know that I got involved with this process because of what was going on in the parish. I had been watching it on TV, and I was just appalled at what was going on at these meetings. People were being insulted, people were being talked down to. That is why I got involved. I'm one of those people who are up here because of y'all. Because you put this out for us to comment on and to give our input. That's what we're here doing. And from that process, we're being talked down to and made fun of, and I find it utterly ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I just want to also address the 1%. I represent probably 30 to 40 people in my family. that because they can't be here, because they're afraid to speak, because they have children and others to take care of. So if you look at all the people in this room and think that they represent, 10 people each, you're talking about a lot of people that are being represented in this parish in this room. And it is not 1%. And I would tell, if you support the plan, come to the meetings. Get up here and talk. Share your voice. If not, then they just have to go on, the people that come here and speak.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, sir. Mr. Kraus, I'd like to thank you for the time you did spend, and I hope some of the council members are watching this, because I've seen Mr. Clulot go out in the neighborhoods, take pictures, spend his own gas money, his own time. None of you people, you have a thankless job. You're not reimbursed for anything that you spend and do. For that, I thank you and I applaud you, and maybe the parish may consider some kind of expenses for y'all, hopefully. But anyway, tonight what I want to tell you is, I was opposed to the master plan with the high density. I was opposed, what I'd call in names, having the director be able to decide on a whim that this was important or not, and he would have the liberty to change stuff on his own. I want to see the public stay involved in the system. I appreciate y'all having the meetings in the neighborhood, going out, and I think if y'all saw it on TV, those of y'all that are honestly will say that the general public was opposed to it because they didn't have enough knowledge, or they were opposed to the high density recommendations and that kind of stuff. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm not a lawyer, but that proposed plan, I didn't see a copyright stamp anywhere on it, which means if I read it, I think it, and I'm on that committee, if I choose to bring it up, I'm using it. There's stuff all over I can use. It's not copyrighted. So I don't know what the concern is about using the material. It's not copyrighted. We bought and paid for it. It's ours. It's not copyrighted. Therefore, if I read it and I say, and I bring up a piece of it, and the one piece that will never go on it is that the staff has the right to determine whether a change is significant or not. That will never go on as long as you've got community involvement. It's supposed to be voted on by this committee to make changes. That's the kind of stuff in the master plan that's just ripped all the way through it. That's why you have such vehement opposition to it, is because of stuff like that. We say one thing, and you go down paragraph after paragraph, and you do something else, and it changes the meaning of it. That's what's wrong with the master plan. Put a committee together, put citizens who want to work on it, who have vested interest in it, no money, not being paid to do it, just like you guys aren't being paid to do it. And guess what? We're going to come up with something that's livable. I've got property, the people in here's got property. We want to be able to use it. We want to be able to develop it in time. And it's not going to work with that master plan. But this stuff about not using it, I think, is wrong. And if council believes that way, I think you need to go to the next council up to the Attorney General, because it's not copyrighted. I just don't believe that we can't use it.
All right, thank you. Okay. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, at this point, there's no reason for me to make any motion unless item number 12 is going to be first moved by a commissioner to amend Mr. Marchand and Mr. Cluot's Planning Commission Subcommittee creation motion that was made in the past. So is there a commissioner that's making that motion?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we amend it, and that we amend it in such a fashion at a future date, so to grant the commissioners the right direction to establish the committee. And I didn't mean manageable in the form of managing the outcome, but managing as in like having a committee of size where we can actually accomplish something.
Okay.
And I don't know what that size is. I don't profess to have the right answer. I'm just saying that we need to do it in the future.
Okay, we have a
Isn't that
motion.
what the- isn't that basically what it says?
Have a motion to amend the motion that was adopted on September 20th to allow time to develop the structure. Is that what I'm understanding, Julio?
I'll tell you what, yes, it is. It's just to establish the structure of the committee. I'd rather the motion have the structure of the committee. That's all I asked for at the first, on the first go-around. I mean, you know, the motion basically gives the chairman carte blanche to establish his committee. And I think it needs to have a structure. That's it. That's all I was asking for.
Okay.
And I'm not proposing
The
to have the
structure.
answer to the structure. I think that's something that we should discuss and we should debate openly and come up with something reasonable. So I would,
Okay.
I guess my motion is to put it in a future agenda with a recommended structure.
All right. And do I have a second? Okay, motion dies for lack of second. So the motion adopted on September 20th remains in place. All right. Item number 13, committee reports, subdivision ordinance committee. In your packets, you have a couple of attachments that is proposing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ricky, I mean, just corrections into the subdivision.
Correct.
uh,
Chairman, if I might
sections,
ask a
and
question pertaining to these. real
You sure
quick.
may? Sure.
Neither of these items were noticed to the public, the agenda. So I don't think.
When you say items, meaning the number of the, which,
No, neither of these subcommittee proposals. So are you wanting to vote on these tonight to
no,
hold a
no,
public
no,
hearing?
no. We just want to introduce them and then hold a public hearing
That's
next
still
month.
in action. It should have been announced on the agenda and the public notices that we would be bringing these items up at least, even if it is just for a public hearing.
But, I mean, it's not a public hearing. All it is to
No,
introduce them for the public hearing
That's right.
next
If
month.
it is, it still should have been in the public notices.
So why is it, when you say it's in the public notice,
We're
with
going
these
to-
sections?
We're going to vote to whether or not to hold a public hearing on these two items.
Right.
So that's taking action to do something further, so that should have been in the public notices that these.
Was it not in the public notice? I mean, what was in the public notice?
I don't know. I guess that it just said subdivision, subcommittee, ordinance committee, I don't know. But I guess that
The general?
the confusion here is that the action is going to be taken next month, and if Mr. Marchand wants to defer these things, I mean,
Postpone.
they're, whatever, it's irrelevant to us. These things we thought were helping the subdividers with their simple divisions, family partitions, the items that you guys don't see on a monthly basis. So it's irrelevant to me whether it happens this month, next month,
Okay.
or the end of next year. We're just trying to help. So
Okay.
if you want
All
to
right.
postpone it for 30 days, it's fine.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we make a motion that we postpone this until the new leadership of the Ascension Parish
Okay.
Planning and Zoning Commission is established.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion to postpone, introduce them. These are discussing these until the subcommittees are set up by Doc, seconded by Commissioner Marchand. Any opposition? Motion carries. Old business, item number 14A, office warehouse for Kerry Boone, lots number D2D, Business Park Site Plan Review. And you're still with us.
Yes, sir. Through all that, all I want to do is build a.
Put the mic up a little higher so we can introduce yourself.
Jeremy Weems, Weems Development. And we're trying to build 2 office warehouse buildings on Highway 73 near 30. And
All right, one at a time. So this one is the
D, I guess.
D2D?
Yes, sir. They're identical.
Okay. Commissioners have any questions, comments?
It was recommended for approval by the staff, if that means anything these days.
No questions, comments at this time? Open up the floor for public hearing. Anyone wishing to come forward and talk, please come forward. No one wishing to comment? Public comment period is closed.
Move to approve.
Second. I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Nance, seconded by Commissioner Barrow. Any opposition? Motion carries. Item number 14B, Kerry Boone, Lot D2E.
Motion to approve.
Jumping the gun. Anyone in the audience wishing to comment, please come forward. No one wishing to comment. Public comment is closed.
Move to approve.
Now we have a
Second.
All right, Commissioner Nance, motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Kluwat. Any opposition? Motion carries.
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Now, we do have a quick zoning meeting just to do, now, and so would, and then I know you swore him in at the first meeting,
But you gotta
Lindy.
swear 'em in again.
So you have to swear him in. Okay, so we just, as soon as Lester can change the tape if he's still in there, we'll convene for zoning. Thanks.